Situation.
بقى بص يا سيدي
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Can you guys hear me?
Good morning. Yes, we can hear you.
Morning. Yes.
Good morning.
Thank you so much. Yes, I'm actually going to show my video. Okay. Can you hear me? Yes. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Desmond. How are you doing?
So I think we can use this. Okay. So I am in the boardroom with the Assistant Dean for Postgraduate, Professor Lizelle Van Dyke. And we have few people that will be joining online. The Dean should be joining us shortly so we can start the program. Thank you so much for coming. And we hope that today will be worthwhile. So we're just trying to check if the Dean is in, and then we can start off with the program.
Yeah, I'm logged in now. I see a few people. Let me just switch on my camera. Can you see me?
Yes.
We can see you, Prof. Welcome.
Perfect. Right. So let me just apologize. I struggled with the link. I thought that this was going to be in Teams, and I realized it's in Zoom. See, 128. And I see the number is going up quite rapidly. 133 now. $140.
Hello,
So
Prof.
that number is going out in an exponential fashion. So you'll have to tell me where steady state is so that I can get going.
Okay. Thank you so much, Prof. We should be starting shortly.
Sure.
Okay. Thank you so much. Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, Prof. And then thank you to everyone. We just want to also use this opportunity to thank the Student Affairs, the Research Office, and then the Postgraduate Office for assisting us with organizing this program. Though it is a program directed to our first-time postgraduates at WITS, it's also important that we have some of the continuing students among us. So without further ado, I would just want to welcome the Dean, the Executive Dean of the Faculty of Engineering, the Built Environment, Professor Toko Majosi. He is a chemical engineer by profession and a professor at the School of Chemical and Metallurgical Engineering. Prof, over to you.
Thank you very much. You got it right there, Desmond. That I'm the dean and also the professor in the School of Chemical and Metallurgical Engineering. I'll explain to everyone why that distinction is important. But let me just thank everyone for being here. I'm very, very excited to see such big numbers, particularly for engineering and the built environment. This is really exciting. And the numbers are still going up, but I see that they are steadying a bit. Welcome, everyone. I think most of the information has been shared with you in the last few days. I was at the launch yesterday in the morning at Great Hall, and there is a lot that was shared with you there by the Postgraduate Association and also the DVC, Research and Innovation, Professor Lynn Morris. I think more or less you all now understand, if you're part of those discussions. Yesterday was one of the very rich days in these orientation programs. I am aware that there were also panels where you shared experiences and also expectations. So I think more or less you have a sense of the lay of the land, if I can call it that, what is expected of you, where we are as a faculty. And I see that the Assistant Dean of postgraduate students here, Professor Liesel van Dijk, is also involved in this. So I would assume that at some point you would have shared maybe one or two things with you, because whilst there are things that are generic that will apply across the board, there are things that will be unique to our faculty, and it's important that we share those with you around this time. I want to thank, before I even go further, thank the guys in ADU, Rodney, Genga, Desmond, and your team. of course, the research office and everyone else who has made this orientation program possible. We haven't had this in the past, by the way, not in this fashion. I've spoken to first year postgraduate students or new postgraduate students around this time of the year. I've done that, but to have a full-fledged orientation program is for the first time we're doing it, and we hope that it's going to get better and better with time. You would have seen some teething problems here and there yesterday in particular, but I think that going forward, things will be much better. So first and foremost, for those of you who are new to the faculty, let me just give you some background of how the faculty looks like. There are things I have to share with you, which I've shared perhaps in other platforms, but not with this particular cohort of students. Those that are coming back who are continuing, perhaps would have gotten a sense of what is happening here. One of the things I do on a regular basis, I have, I won't call it a newsletter, but a communication or correspondence that I share with the faculty as a whole. But it's mainly academics who have access to that. I think we must extend that to a much wider community and not just the academics. As I'm speaking to you now, I'm just thinking that we might have to extend that a bit wider, because some of these things that I'm going to share with you, you might not be aware of. All academics are aware of these things because I share with these things with them on an ongoing basis, with the assumption that this message finds its way into the schools. Whether that happens or not, that's another matter. Now, one of the things that perhaps I should start off by just giving you the very basics in terms of our faculty, which could be redundant for those who are coming back here for not for the first time, maybe second or third year. But we are a faculty of 7 schools, okay? 5 of those schools are in the engineering space, or I call that the engineering sphere. That will be the school of MIA. MIA is Mechanical, Industrial, and Aeronautical Engineering. That's one school. We have CHMT, which is Chemical and Metallurgical Engineering, also one school, which is a consequence of a merger of 2 departments, as you can see in the name, Chemical Engineering and Metallurgical Engineering. They merged some time ago when they formed that CHMT. Then we've got Civil and Environmental Engineering. We also have electrical and information engineering, as well as mining engineering. So those 5 schools fall under the engineering sphere of our faculty. Then in the built environment sphere, we've got the School of Architecture and Planning, as well as the School of Construction Economics and Management. I'm not sure whether you've had a chance to meet the heads of schools for all those schools, but for the School of CHMT, the head of school is Professor Josias van den Merwe. For MIA, the head of school is Professor Robert Reid. For Civil and Environmental Engineering, the head of school is Mike Otieno. For Electrical and Information Engineering, the head of school is Professor Estelle Trengove. And then for Mining Engineering, the head of school is Cuthbert Musingwini. This is in the engineering space. And then on the side of built environment, the head of school for architecture and planning is Professor Namdi Ele, and the head of school for construction economics and management is Professor Sam Laria. This time, with time, you'll have to meet these heads of schools, and I think you must make it a point that you introduce yourselves to the heads of schools. I know that you've got your own supervisors, unlike our undergrads, who are not dedicated or attached to a particular supervisor. You have your own supervisors, but I would urge you to make time and create space to meet your heads of schools. It's important to know who the heads of schools are in your respective schools. So that is the structure of our faculty. Now, one of the things that we've identified in our faculty is that we have to look at a few things. There are 4 things that we've identified as strategic pillars. You have to note these things down, because this is what guides us, and it's going to be guiding us for the next 4 years now. I mean, I've been in this position for just a year, which was from November 2021. And we set in June, July, thereabout last year to put together a strategy for the faculty, because we have to have a vision, we have to have a sense of where we're going so that we are clear at all times that we are on the right path. And what came out of that strategy session was 4 pillars that guide us as a faculty. The first thing that stood out was that we have to increase or improve our research throughput. This was because if you look, those of you who have bothered, if you look at the 5 faculties that we have in the university, just one of 5 faculties in the university, for some reason, engineering and the built environment is the least performer when it comes to research outputs. We produce the least in terms of research outputs. It has not always been like that. The slump started around 2020 when we lost a number of our academic staff. When I look at the numbers very carefully, between 2020 and 2022, we lost about 37 academic staff members. That's a lot. And then one wants to assume that the majority of those, or the sizable number of those, were those who were actually making a contribution to research. Because for some reason, there's a change around that time, which we haven't recovered from. Be that as it may, we know now that we are the least productive faculty of all faculties in terms of research. So we identified the increasing of research throughput as one of our key drivers. And that will be led by you in the main. This is where postgraduate students play a very, very key role. What we have here, postgraduates who do a lot of research, who publish, who come up with new ideas, come up with, now we talk about innovation. We'll be seeing a lot of innovation coming from this group that I'm talking to now. So in that strategic pillar, you will be the key driver in one way or another. And I'm going to come back to that before I close, but there's something that is attached to that, which you will not find in other faculties. So no matter what you've heard so far in the last few days, this you might have not heard, and it applies directly to you. It might not apply to the other postgrads in the other faculties. So I'll come back to that later. So the first strategic pillar is increasing our research throughputs. The second strategic pillar that we identified was transforming our undergraduate curriculum. So we've come to realize when we talk to our industrial partners that the graduates that we produce don't seem to be still relevant for the industries that we seek to serve. They take time to adapt. It takes about maybe a year or so before they start, making a contribution. That was never the case. In the past, it was the other way around. So there is something that we've lacked internally, which we have to change. I mean, most of the things that are happening out there are now digital, so we have to move into the digital space in a very big way. And then we've identified then the transformation of our undergraduate curriculum as the main thing that we must pursue. And to that end, we are going to be introducing data science in our programs throughout the faculty, built environment and engineering. All students will be allowed to do data science. Initially, perhaps as an elective, and maybe with time, it might become a compulsory component of the curriculum. That is going to happen from 2024. It could happen from the beginning of this year, but I realized that we had not fully, determined how it would unfurl for the other years. So we have our first year, we are clear at the time of discussion. We're clear with how the first year could be introduced, but it was not clear how that translates to second, third, and maybe fourth year. So we are busy with that. I hope that by July we'll be clear. 2024, we hit the ground running. That is the transformation of the undergraduate curriculum. The third strategic pillar that you identified was the digitalization of our administration. You too, those of you who are coming back have experienced this. Those of you who are new will experience this. Administration at VETS is not where it's supposed to be. You will be frustrated by administration here at VETS. And most of that, we have to be blunt about these things. And the reason why you'll be frustrated, I've come to realize most of our admin, whether it's in the registrar or whether it's in the HR or the fees office, is still very manual. You'll have to bear with me, ladies and gentlemen. I came down with serious flu. The whole night I couldn't sleep properly. So I will take time, just a second to blow my nose. Allow me, please. Right, for some reason, I thought it was going to allow me to talk to you until I'm done before it gets in the way. So I'm on my way to the doctor this morning. But in any event, data science will be introduced from 2024. And then the third strategic objective was, I'm now in the administration, as I told you. So administration is one of the things that we've identified. We have to digitalize it. The reason why you'll be frustrated, and all of us are frustrated by admin, is because most of what is happening in that space is still happening manually. We have to change that. I mean, we have to start doing things digitally. Everything there is done manually. Even when you, from your registration all the way to submission of your thesis, someone has to write emails. At some point, by the way, as recent as about 2 years ago, people were still printing their thesis. You know, at some point, as an academic myself, you had Desmond introducing me. I have students that I'm supervising even now. I'm still a professor in chemical and metallurgical engineering. I'm leading a group there. So at some point, people were saying to me, when are you going to print this, or how do one this thesis bound? Is it going to be hardcover or softcover? I said, but who on earth still does this in terms of printing the thesis, and who still does that? So we are no longer printing thesis. Everything is now in the digital space, and this is, by the way, the university-wide movement, if I'm not mistaken. Everyone now is mostly in the digital space, except where the external examiner insists, because you'll find those who will insist that they want the bound copies. Then that's a different matter. But in general, we are moving now into the digital space. I think as from March, we are going to be introducing what is called the GRM, which is the graduate, I think it's graduate research module or something like that. Liesl, you are here. GRM, by the way, what does it stand for? What does it stand for? GRM, the one that you're going to introduce now in March.
Graduate Research Management Module.
Oh yeah, Graduate Research Management Module. Yeah, so it's GRIM, so GRMM. Thanks, Liesl. So we're going to be introducing that as a way, again, of trying to, automate most of the processes to make it much, much linear and more efficient for our students to go through. So the digitalization of our admin is one of the things that we're going to be doing in the next few years to make things much easier. And then finally, the one strategic objective that we identified, the last one, but certainly not the least, was the issue of transformation. Transformation in terms of demographics. Everything that I've mentioned to you, the first, the second, the third strategic objectives, they talk to transformation, but that's not really transformation in terms of the demographics. So this is the fourth strategic pillar, which is demographic transformation that we are looking at very closely. We are not doing well, again, as a faculty in terms of demographics. We are the worst in the whole university in terms of demographic, both at the postgraduate level in particular, and also in terms of our academics. Whilst we need to expand and open ourselves fully to the world, because we are an academic institution, and there should be no bounds in terms of the intellectual residence within our space, we also have to pay serious attention to some of the matters that are of national interest. So we don't want to be caught wanting in that regard, in terms of the demographic transformation. So this is the fourth pillar that we are looking at. Those are the strategic objectives. So if you had to ask me about our vision, that's our vision. Those are 4 things that we need to work very hard on in the next 4 years now, because the first year is behind us. So know that Know that those are the 4 strategic objectives: increasing the research throughputs, transformation of the undergraduate curriculum. Whilst that might not talk directly to you, you might be indirectly involved, because remember, you are assisting as teaching assistants and the like. So transformation of the undergraduate curriculum, making sure that we digitalize our admin, particularly to make things easier for us and our students, us academics and our students, and of course, the issue of demographic transformation. So know that. You must recite that, because whatever we do in the next 4 years in this faculty will talk to those 4 things. Everything that we do, we'll be able to map it to, and there are a lot of things that we are doing. You'll see that, but each of them in one way or another is linked to 1 or 2 of those strategic objectives. I mentioned to you that on the first one, you will be affected differently from the others, the one on increasing research throughputs. We have decided as a faculty, and we are the only faculty, I can declare this to you, that our PhDs in particular, the new intake. So if you are the new PhD, brace yourself for this, because we are now in the very latter stages of implementing this. And that is to make sure that all our PhDs publish a paper by the time of completion. There must be a published paper. At the very worst, there must be an accepted paper at the time of publication. Sorry, at the time of submission, when you submit your thesis. That's not the case in the other faculties, and that's not what you'll see currently in our standing orders, because we are busy changing the standing orders, but it has been approved by the faculty board. So it's a function of ratifying it properly with the faculty board and taking it from there. Which means right from the outset, ladies and gentlemen, masters by research, PhD by research, all of you, just make sure that you start working towards, so whatever the new development or your innovation, your contribution that you make, start thinking along the lines of publishing that in a paper. One of the colleagues mentioned to me that some of the low-hanging fruits are your proposal. When you write your proposal, which is the stage that most of you will be embarking on in the next few months, you do a lot of literature review in that process. And then why can't you translate that into a review paper in your field, for example? This was just the thought off the cuff at the time from one of the colleagues. It makes sense. So there will always be avenues for you to publish something. And we are not publishing for the sake of publishing. We are publishing because that talks to the ethos that we want to uphold in our academic program. If you are doing a PhD, for example, there are 3 things we want to see from you when you submit your thesis. Your ideas must be original. We want to see that you've demonstrated independent critical judgment. And we want to see that you've closed the gap in the field. These are the 3 things for a PhD. Wherever you go in the world, whatever the discipline, these are the 3 things that you want to see in PhD. Originality, independent critical judgment, and closing the gap in the field. If we truly believe we've done that, what would stop us from publishing a paper? Because that's exactly what the journal publication is. It's all about that. A journal will publish your paper because you've made a contribution in the field. A journal will make a paper because you are closing the gap in the field or your ideas are original. So if we say we are doing exactly that, why should we, what will stop us from publishing? And to put your minds at ease, I've just come back from a conference in Rwanda 2 weeks ago. Universities all over Africa, it was an Arua conference. Arua is an association of research universities in Africa. It's made up of 16 universities in the whole of Africa. Universities like Lagos, there are 5 of them in Nigeria, Lagos, Ibadan, and the like. All of them, Mauritius even, were saying that in their PhDs, you have to publish at least 2 journal publications, 2. And I asked the colleagues, guys, didn't you experience any pushback or anything like that? They said no. And for how long have you been doing this? Some of them have been doing it for 3 years. University of Pretoria has been doing it for 3 years already. So we have to do it, colleagues. It talks to that improving research throughputs, but we are not just doing it for the sake of improving research throughputs. We are doing it to lend credence to what a PhD stands for. If it stands for those 3 requirements, then definitely we should be able to publish. And there's evidence. If you've published a paper, everything beyond that point is a formality. But I expect that also from master's students. I expect the master's students to also publish. 90% of my master's students publish a paper in a journal. 90% of them, they publish a paper in a journal. So masters by research also can lead to publications. The last thing that I want to share with you, because I want this to be a discussion, I would like you to ask some questions as well. And I'm sure that you have questions. The last thing that I'm going to say on my side is that please, 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 make sure that you focus in everything else that you do, because this university has a lot to offer, not just academically, but also socially and in many other dimensions. And we expect you to participate in all this, because this is time for you to grow. So grow whilst you are here, but always remember that priority number 1 is your PhD. It's your master's degree. It's your honors, if we also have honors colleagues here. I'm not sure whether we have honors here as well. But for postgrads, it is your degree that is priority number 1. So please finish on record time. We have a sizable number of students who are not finishing on time. PhDs who have been here for almost 6 years. Of course, we get to a point where we ask you to leave. Master students who have been here for almost 4-5 years. That shouldn't happen. So I'm imploring you, particularly the new cohort, that focus on your studies fully from day 1. Make this your first assignment, your first priority, and make sure that in 2 years' time, if you are doing a master's degree, you are done. In 3 years' time, if you are doing your PhD, you are done and you've met all the criteria for the degree. It happens in other places. That would be my closing remark. Register that, please. I'll then hand over back to you, Desmond, and ask all the people that are here to.
Thank you so much, Prof. And then. Can you hear you? Hello, Prof. Can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly fine, Desmond. Yes, please.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much, Prof. I think that we have. So, Prof, I was thinking that perhaps we could have maybe 2 or 3 questions, so that from the group. I must also quickly say that this one will be having a faculty-specific postgraduate orientation later in the year, because we understand that some of the students are also here to register. But this is an opportunity where students can actually engage with the dean. And so please, can you show of hand if you want to ask a question directly to the dean? And then we can take it there. We're going to take 2 or 3 questions, then we can continue with the program.
Yeah. Hi, I can't hear properly. Who is that? Come again.
No, Prof, nobody is asking a question yet.
Oh, I thought there was someone saying something in the background. Yes. So
okay, I see, Prof. I see Stanley. Stanley, go for it. Stanley and then Koketo.
Good morning, Desmond. Good morning, my dean. Good morning, Prof. Can you hear me?
Morning, Stanley.
Yes, I'm completing my PhD in the School of Construction Economics and Management. I'm currently registered as an awaiting examiner. So by God's grace, we are getting there. However, it's been a turbulent journey, and you described some of the situations good enough. My worry is we have this hunger for publication. However, I don't see the structures. Maybe it's not well spelled out that encourages a student to keep his or her thesis aside and concentrate on writing a paper, either journal or conference, and where you have to pay as low as $500, $800, you are asked to look for the money by yourself somewhere. You know, that's a huge discouragement, especially for me. I'm an indigent student. I struggled to go through financially, and it's just not easy, you know, dipping into a pocket that already has got several holes to look for these resources to pay for these outputs. So the only conference that was paid for by my supervisor, he had to make me borrow money from somebody to pay, and then I got the evidence of payment, and then for somehow the school made an arrangement me. I don't know. I am willing to sit down and write. But what happens when I spend 3 months, 2 months writing? I've got papers that have not even gone out anywhere because I can't afford to pay. So that's the situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Stanley. I think you've raised a very, very good point, by the way. Very good point. Because it's you and Koketo, can I take both of you and respond collectively? But thanks, Stanley, for that. Koketo, you can come in.
Good morning, Prof, and good morning, everyone. Thanks for the welcome and the welcome address that you put on for us. I'm a returning student. I'm doing a master's by coursework and research part-time. I'm a working individual. I'm a senior process engineer for Baku Platinum Mine. So what I wanted to know is, when exactly does the calendar start? Because the way I'm seeing things is we're in February now and we haven't started anything yet. Are we starting in March or in April?
Yeah. Okay. Lizel, thanks, Koketo, for this. I remember you, by the way.
Prof, if I can just.
Yeah, no, you can come in. I'm just
the official calendar of the university only starts on the 21st of February. And so you cannot expect to start before that.
That's fine. Yeah, we are about to start.
Of course, if it's master's by research or PhD by research, it's another story, and you would have to communicate with your supervisor. I hope that answers the question.
Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah, in fact, the entire academic program is starting well next week, thereabout. Even undergrads are starting next week. We haven't started with our undergrad program as well as our postgraduate. So if it's by coursework, it will be later, like Lizel has just mentioned now. So I think that should answer your question then, Koket. So I was just saying that I remember you, by the way, last year. I think we were part of this conversation, am I right? When I was talking to students. I remember your name.
I don't think it was me, Prof, but I think it was.
No, maybe it's someone who looks like you then. Okay, right. That's fine. Yeah, okay, coming to Stanley, I see there are other hands, but coming to Stanley in particular, you've raised a very, very good point. I will answer one question that it has been raised all the time. Where will the time come from to set aside and write a paper and then still write the thesis? And I always say maybe that's where the formula that we've applied over the years hasn't been the best formula, because the academics that publish actually do one thing very well. If you along the way publish papers, it means that you already have the sizable part of your thesis already covered. If I have about 2 papers during the course of my research, I have no doubt in my mind that I have at least 3 chapters there covered. Part of the literature review has been covered there because each of the paper will require a bit of that. And then the actual contribution or development that I come up with is a chapter on its own in the thesis. So actually, Writing papers saves time rather than eating on the time that you have, but it needs to be structured in a very, 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 very meticulous fashion. It's something that you must think about right from the outset. The people that do it very well, those that publish and still submit on time, it is because they've identified that formula and are using it very well. So you can, along the course of the way, make sure that as you publish, all those papers form part of your thesis. In one way or another, it should be a chapter very, very easily in your thesis. What I normally do with my students, after they've written a paper, and I've reviewed the paper, because I review a paper a number of times before it goes out to the journal. It saves my time as well as the supervisor, because it means when they submit their thesis, those chapters which entail the material that has already been published, I won't even bother looking at those chapters. I've already done that. I only focus on the front end matter, your first chapter, your introduction, as well maybe your second chapter. That's what I focus on. So actually publishing saves time for both the supervisor and the student, if one looks it looks at it very, very closely, but it needs to be structured well right from the outset, and the formula starts working after that. And then on the issue of publications and money, I'm aware, Stanley, that with the open source in particular, and which is becoming very, 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 very common now, those journals tend to ask for money. You need to pay, and we don't have money at this stage. It's very, very difficult. So what we need to do, I think, as a faculty, and I'm glad that the assistant dean for postgraduate students is here. One of the things that you must think about as a faculty is how do we have, I talk about a strategic fund that will assist us to do all these things. One of them is to, of course, assist our students to publish in those journals. We can't run away from those journals. If, for example, in your space, then let's say built environment, most of your work is published in those journals, we have to assist you to publish in those journals. It's good for you, it's good for the university. Also, when it comes to conferences, I've had students flocking into my office asking for assistance for going to conferences because a supervisor does not have the money to take the students to a conference. I think that too needs to have a strategic kind of an engagement at a faculty level, but talking with schools, that how do you make sure that those students who have had papers accepted at conferences, and good conferences for that matter, they are given a chance to attend those conferences. Because I strongly believe that attending a conference is part of education. Seeing what people your age elsewhere are doing in your space is part of your education. So attending a conference is very much an integral part of your training in research. You should ideally attend a conference as part of your research. Again, I don't have a student, maybe only 5% of my students finished their studies having not gone to a conference, but it's because I had a chair in chemical engineering, which was fully funded. I was in a better space in that regard. But be that as it may, we need to raise funds, and it's not necessarily your responsibility as a student to do this. It should be the responsibility of the school. It should be the responsibility of the faculty. But where there is evidence that, for example, you've published a good paper and now you want to go to a conference, I have no doubt in my mind that you will find a way of supporting you to go to a conference. It must be a good case, because if it's not a good case, it then becomes a tourist kind of an attraction arrangement. But if you've had a paper, for example, accepted somewhere, and you want to go to a conference to talk about what the paper is about, and there's all the evidence, I can guarantee you will find a way of sending you to that conference. For now, that should be my responsibility, Stanley, but the points that you are raising are very good points.
Hello, Prof.
Yes, Desmond.
Prof, we have people from the library. So for instance, Bongi is from the library, and they would be talking to the open access funding that is available for people to publish and all that. So can I suggest that maybe perhaps we take this time, we pause and we continue with the program, so that when the question comes, we would have all these questions answered. And also the assistant dean for postgraduate is here. She is here, so she would also take us through that particular thing, so that we can have an ample time to actually talk about what we need to do going forward, if that is okay with everyone. So that I would suggest.
That should be fine.
So I was, Prof, that would be my suggestion, so that at least we cover the grounds. And in the course
Yeah,
of the year, we'll be having most of this program so that people know what is available. Some of the things is just the ignorance of our postgraduates not knowing where to ask for help or what help does the university have to support them. And I think we'll bring these things to your doorsteps.
perfect. That is great. And I
Thank
can
you
see
so
I'm
much.
getting
So
to
please keep your questions.
Mm.
Yes, if I can also just thank the Dean for his time. Thank you, Prof. Majosi. I'm going to just put my video on. I'm Lizelle van Dijk, the Assistant Dean Postgraduate, and I'm going to take you further with the program. Thanks. Okay, so can everybody hear me? Can we just get a few reactions here, because we're going to need some.
Yes, Prof, we can hear you.
Great, thanks a lot. I think perhaps, yeah, let me start. I've prepared a few slides for you on what I call sort of a roadmap through the postgraduate studies, and it will probably talk to some of the things that you might be wondering at this stage. Sorry, let me just share it because it seems like I'm not sharing. There we go. Okay, that seems to be sharing now. There we go. My apologies, everyone. We are used to working with Teams, and now all of a sudden we have to work with Zoom. So my apologies for that. So my talk will just be, I'm going to share a few thoughts with you as the Assistant Dean Postgraduate. So like I said, my name is Lizelle van Dijk. I am sort of the Dean delegate to deal with postgraduate matters. We also have an Assistant Dean Research, and the Assistant Dean Research looks more at the research aspects of the postgraduate studies. And so in terms of funding and things like that for specifically conferences and paper publications, I'm sure you can also contact the Assistant Dean Research to find out about some funding opportunities. But yeah, so my role is equivalent to the Assistant Dean Undergraduate, except that I look after our more mature postgraduate students. So if we look at the PG landscape in engineering and the built environment, we have a number of postgraduate programs. We have postgraduate diplomas. We have honors degrees, and the honors degrees are mostly in the built environment, as engineering sort of incorporates the honors degree in their fourth-year professional degree. Then we have master's degrees, and so we have professional master's degrees. And professional master's degrees, the research component is a little bit smaller than the 50-50 research part. And also it's more focused on getting a professional qualification in a specific field. Then we have what we call a 50% coursework and a 50% research degree. We have a research-only master's degree. And then we have the PhD, and this PhD is a research PhD specifically. Now, your registration as a postgraduate students can be full-time and part-time. And the reason why I'm talking about full-time and part-time is what we see is when it comes to the Board of Examiners meetings at the end of the year, we have a lot of full-time students which should actually be part-time. And so as postgraduate students, there will be a number of you that's going to be full-time on campus, but there's also going to be a large cohort of you that are working full-time, and the postgraduate qualification is just a part-time activity for you. And it's very important that you then register as part-time. Because it has a lot of implications in terms of the rules that apply to your qualification. Another thing that's very important is that every student is required to register every year until the qualification is completed. If you are unable to register, come speak to us. Let's try and make a plan if it's possible, but you are not allowed not to be registered. If you are supervised by a supervisor, supervisors are not allowed to register you without you being a registered student. And you'll see there's some implications in terms of the amount of time that you are allowed to be a registered student, even if you don't register. And then when you come back, you have to normally pay the registration fees anyway of those years that you missed. You don't have to register if you put your degree in abeyance, but abeyance is only allowed for 50% research masters or masters by pure research and PhD students. And this is also only on the research part. So if you're doing a 50% masters, you actually have to finish the courses before you can apply for this abeyance. So just some thoughts there. Prof. Majosi alluded to this, that at some stage we might ask you to leave. And this is because the Department of Higher Education has put some restrictions on the minimum and maximum amount of time that students are allowed to be at this university. So the minimum is prescribed by the Department of Education. The maximum amount of time is actually prescribed by the university rules. So for a postgraduate diploma full-time, it is 1 year and part-time is 2 years. So you can see that usually part-time is 2 times the minimum amount of time. Honors degrees are 1 year. Master's degrees, usually 1 year for full-time and 2 years for part-time. PhD is 2 years full-time or 4 years part-time. This being said, the university itself allows you some additional time. And that additional time can go up to a maximum of 2 years after the N has expired. But what you need to realize is that certain programs also have rules that can supersede this N+2 rule. So it is very important that you familiarize yourself with the rules of the university. And where do we find these rules? Well, there is a book called Rules and Syllabus, and the Rules and Syllabus book can be downloaded. That's the web address for the Rules and Syllabus book. What I usually do is I just Google WITS Rules and Syllabus book, and it comes up quite easily. That's what the front page of the actual printed book. So the Rules and Syllabus book gives you a description of each of the courses that you're going to take if you are doing any courses. And it also tells you what are the rules involved in for your program. So familiarize yourself with that because it's important when it comes to the Board of Examiners meetings. We apply those rules when we decide what is your progression outcomes. There's also other rules that govern the diploma or the degrees. These are the general rules for the courses that you would find in your course briefs. We have faculty and Senate standing orders for higher degrees. There's Senate standing orders on assessment. And of course, for research, there's also the research ethics policy. So go read these, educate yourself in terms of what is important for the university for governance point of view. So for course-based PG degrees and diplomas, what I would just like to say is familiarize yourself with the timetable. Know when your courses are going to take place. Each school should provide a timetable on when courses are going to run. You will see that a lot of the PG courses and the postgraduate diploma courses might be ran as block release courses. So know that when they are taking place. You need to work consistently. I think this goes without saying, especially those of you that work. You guys are amazing. You should just know this. To work and to also do a postgraduate qualification is a difficult task. So, you know, try and balance the two. And remember what I said about part-time studies. Don't do full-time because you want to finish in a year, but at the end of the day, you can't manage. And then I think very important, if you are unable to attend a test or exam, apply for a deferred. Something that you guys don't know is that you only have 3 days maximum to apply after the event or after the test was scheduled or the exam was scheduled. Tests, usually you apply to the school for a deferred, where the exams you apply to the faculty, and that comes to me and I look at your defer applications. So for the research-based postgraduate degrees, what's really important is this relationship with your supervisor. You are going to do research and you're going to work very closely with someone like your supervisor. And it's important that the relationship between yourself and your supervisor is one of mutual respect and one where you can actually feel free to talk to your supervisor. If you have problems with your supervisor, and when I talk about problems with your supervisor, it's where, you know, you struggle to communicate with your supervisor, please try and involve someone else in the conversation. Okay, don't let that supervision student relationship deteriorate to such an extent that it starts affecting your studies. It really is important. And then you're going to basically have to hand in 2 things that's very important. You're going to have to hand in a project proposal, and sometimes it will require that you get ethic clearance. I don't know what happened there. Someone just wrote over the screen. And then also you're going to submit either a research report, that's for a 50-50 master's, or a thesis for a master's, or a dissertation for a PhD. You're going to have to produce those documents at some stage. Some schools for the project proposal also have oral presentations, and so it's important from a admin side that you find out the processes for submitting these documents, and also know that some documents are required. And this takes time. It's not things that happen in 2 days, 3 days. It usually takes at least a week, 2 weeks for the documents to be signed off and things like that. And I'm sure you guys are wondering, why is the Assistant Dean Postgraduate talking to us about these trivial things? These are the things that are really, these admin things are important. And it can cause a lot of frustration for you if you don't understand these processes. So in terms of amendments, you're also welcome to change some of your coursework once you're registered. I've just put a sort of a form here that you can see. The Dean has alluded to the fact that we are moving towards online forms, but we're still not there yet. And so when you want to make an amendment to your coursework, for example, if you realize that, you know, a big project has come up at work or something, and you are not able to do a course when it's taking place, you are more than welcome to amend some of your courses. And this is the forms that are involved. These type of forms you can get from, each school has what we call a postgraduate officer, and the postgraduate officer should assist you in getting these forms. Once this form is filled in by you, it will go to the head of school or your supervisor for signature, and then it comes to me for approval. So this is just the coursework students. So I'm talking now specifically to the PG DIPS and the honor students, and then postgraduate students where there's a research element. You've got something like this, and this form will allow you to do certain things. One of the things that it will allow you to do is to ask for an extension on, let's say, your research proposal. Your research proposal is due within a certain amount of time. You can ask for extension if there's good reason. You can also ask for extension on the actual submission or the final submission of your research report for examination at the end of the period. You can put your registration in abeyance, so you can apply for that. Remember, only students that are doing a research component can apply for that. And then, of course, you can also change your attendance mode either from part-time to full-time. You can change your title of your thesis. At some point, you might realize that once you've done the project proposal, that you want to change the title. But in all these things, you can also change your supervisor. But in all these things, your supervisor needs to provide a motivation with you. And then my last words, and I'm going to take some questions as well from you, is if you face challenges, speak to someone and keep records. You are not alone. There's lots of people actually here that can assist you. Firstly, in your school, you've got your postgraduate officer that's mostly involved with the administration part. Each school also have a postgraduate academic, and that academic person you can also go speak to. And they also have a postgraduate committee. Then from that, you also have some people in the registry, and we're going to introduce you to the people in the registry very soon. And then you also have me that you can come and talk to once you've exhausted all those other people. But one other thing is we've got the academic development unit, and they're going to speak to you later. And also we've got the CCDU, and now I'm going to not be able to know what it stands for. Center for
Career and Counseling.
So the Center for Career and Counseling Development Unit at the university, and they are more there if you've got some personal problems. But like I said, speak up, talk to us. Let's see how we can assist you in this journey of your postgraduate studies. You're definitely not alone. Other thing is, know when the cutoff dates are. If you want to put your studies in abeyance, or you want to amend some of your courses, there are certain cutoff dates that you need to comply with. So know when they are, so that at the end of the day, you don't submit these forms too late, and then you get to the Board of Examiners meeting and you've never taken part in a course, and now you fail a course because you were failed absent and you never realized that. The other thing that I would like you to just bear in mind is to always be polite to our staff, irrespective of your level of frustration. You know, these people are just doing their jobs. Like the dean said, the system isn't always perfect, and we are not always the custodians of the system. We try to change the system as much as we can, but sometimes all of us are frustrated with the system. So it's very important to remember to always be polite. And I say this because I know that sometimes the faculty staff takes quite a bit of strain from postgraduate students. And I know it's purely just because you guys are frustrated with the system. But we will definitely help you, and we'll definitely try and find a solution for your problem if it's possible. And then I think my last words is, I just want to say, I wish you all the success on this journey that you have. What you need to remember is that you are part of this faculty and that we value your contribution. As postgraduate students, you've taken the decision to further your studies, and with that comes a lot of sacrifices. And we are aware of these sacrifices that you are taking, but it's also to make a bigger contribution to our country and to the field of knowledge. So just remember that. And with that, I think I'm finished. But what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to introduce the faculty staff to you. And then once we've done that, so these are the members of the faculty registry that you would also deal with. And let me just now, sorry, I just need to go back to my Zoom and stop sharing my screen. Okay, I'm going to start with, let me just get a list of all the participants. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce someone. I think the registrar is here. So we're going to go, I'm going to introduce the registrar, and perhaps the registrar can just introduce his staff to you. I think that would be a better option than me doing everybody. Okay.
Good
So
morning,
let me introduce you to
Okay.
the registrar, Mr. Yassine Stoffberg.
Thank you. Good morning, Professor Van Dijk, and good morning to all of the participants. My name is Yassine Stoffberg, and I'm the registrar here at the Faculty of Engineering and the Built Environment. And as the faculty registrar, my role is to oversee and to manage academic records and policies for the faculty. The Faculty Registrar's Office plays a critical role in ensuring that the academic operations of the faculty run smoothly. And this includes managing course registration processes, student records, marks processing, and ensuring that faculty policies and procedures are followed. In addition to these administrative tasks, the Faculty Registrar's Office also serves as a resource for all staff and students. Wits University is a large and complex organization, and so we like to see ourselves as the first point of call for students and staff who have questions or queries of an administrative nature, specifically regarding to academic administration. So we provide information and guidance on academic policies and procedures, graduation requirements, and other such academic matters. Overall, my role as the registrar is to ensure that our faculty operates efficiently and effectively, and that our students receive the best academic experience possible. And so together with my staff, we are committed to supporting the academic success of our students and to ensuring that we provide an excellent service to all of our faculty, staff, and students. We've got 12 full-time staff members dedicated to this function in the faculty registry. We are located on the ground floor of the Chamber of Mines building. So you're welcome to come into the office if you have any inquiries at any time. But all of our faculty registry staff are also equipped with online meeting scheduling tools and so forth. And it's very easy and convenient for you to schedule an online Teams meeting with any staff member in the faculty registry. And that will save you often a trip out to Chamber of Mines and to stand in a queue and to see someone. And it's always better to work on a scheduling basis. I don't know how many of the registry staff, Professor Van Dijk and Dr. Klenum, are in this meeting, because I know that some of them, as I passed by, were busy consulting with students. But for those of them who are here, I don't know how you would like to do this. Do you want to introduce them?
They're all here.
Okay, great. So maybe I'll start just in the way that I would walk past the offices in the morning. I'll start in the far corner with Sipokazi Makayi. And Sipokazi is the faculty officer for the School of Electrical and Information Engineering. Do you want to say hello, Sipokazi, if you can? So let me go on. I don't know how much time is available to us, but let me just give you their names. And if you wish, what I could do, Professor Van Dijk, is just circulate a PDF file or a link. There's actually a link on the faculty website, which has telephone numbers, email addresses, as well as Microsoft Teams meeting scheduling links for each of the faculty offices. So I'll share that with the group over here, everybody that's been invited to this session today, so that you don't have to write down and take down telephone numbers and email addresses. I'll just go through the names and who's doing what in the interest of time. So Sipokazi is responsible with the School of Electrical and Information Engineering. Then we're going to introduce you to Andile Sitole, and Andile is the faculty officer for the School of Mining Engineering. Michelle Kirsten is the faculty officer for the School of Mechanical, Industrial and Aeronautical Engineering. And also in this meeting is Melanie van Wyk. Melanie is the faculty officer for the School of Civil and Environmental Engineering. And we've also got Amalda van Vieren, who's the faculty officer for the School of Architecture and Planning. Next to her in the office here, you'll find Dudu Kanye, who's the faculty officer for the School of Chemical and Metallurgical Engineering. And then Ria Snyman is the faculty officer for the School of Construction, Economics and Management. I must also just introduce you to two other staff members who are here, and they're not dedicated to any particular school. The first one is Mr. Mamang Nkarimeng, who is a senior faculty officer, and Mrs. Charlotte Masimani. The two of them provide administrative support to the faculty officers. So your first point of contact is the faculty officer. And if there's anything of a more complex nature, Mamang and Charlotte would be the ones who would assist you with those queries. And you may also, if you come to our office, you may be the first person that you'll see at the front desk is Atika Hussain. So you'll be greeted by Atika when you come in. And Atika's the friendly face of the faculty at the reception. And Janice Wilson helps her out at the reception. She's our administrative assistant for the faculty. But don't worry about remembering all the names. And I'm not going to share contact details, as I've said. I'll make that available to you in writing in the interest of time, and so that it's easy for you all to say. Thank you very much, Professor van Dijk.
Thank you very much. I don't know if there's anybody that would like to ask a question at this stage. As much as I'll try and help you. Okay, Pumile, if you would like to ask a question, please feel free. If you can just unmute yourself. We're not hearing you. Okay, we're still not hearing you. If you can type perhaps your question in the comments, then I'll take it like that later. Okay. Tatu Malabati, if you can ask your question.
Good morning, Lisa. Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you perfectly.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. My question stands with regards to the amendment form, because I think on self-service, there's actually a section where you can do the amendments. So I wanted to know if one does the amendments through the self-service, do they still need to go through the amendment form, or the self-service is not yet functional as yet? Thank you. That's my question.
If I can give you good advice, use the offline form at this stage, because I'm sure the self-service is not working.
Okay. Thank you very much, Lisa, for answering. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Just
hello.
Sorry, Tato, thank you for that. I just used the self-service to do amendments myself, and I did get a notification by mail that it has been submitted to the faculty.
Okay, Kwena, I'm going to write your name down. It gets submitted, it doesn't necessarily work.
Okay.
Okay, so you will get notification that you've submitted, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's working. And it's pulling through to the next person. So we'll have to just check that. Okay.
Okay, Lisa. Hi, Lisa.
Yes. Yes.
Like when I also submitted it online and it said submitted. I got a mail and everything, and I continuously keep on checking it on a daily basis. And when I try to get hold of my faculty registrar, I'm not actually winning. My school registrar rather, I'm not actually winning. So may you please also kindly check.
Okay. I think what we need to do is we need to send out the email to all students not to use the self-service page. Okay, I'll make a note of that because I don't think it's pulling through, guys, and that can cause a problem because you're waiting for it to do something and it's not getting to the right people. Yasin, if I don't know if you're still part of this.
Hello.
Meeting.
I am, and I'm making a note of this as well. Thank you, Prof. Van Dijk.
Okay.
Yes, I'm a PhD student and I have a few questions on the abeyance. So I first my question would be what is the cutoff date in terms of applying? And so in the application, there's a space where you write motivation. So how much motivation is too much motivation? Maybe, I don't know if I'm asking the question correctly.
No.
Am I supposed to give like full details of the reason why? Or because for my, I'm applying and my reasons are for health reasons. I'm having some health complications. So I want to know do you want to know the details of what is going on, or me stating that it's for health reasons is enough motivation for it to be accepted?
Okay, so with all forms at the university, you have to give at least some detail. If you prefer not to give detail, then let your doctor write a letter in which they say you have some medical condition. If you don't want to actually disclose the details. Okay. The thing is, either way, you're gonna have to. If a medical reason is the reason, you're gonna have to add some reasons there. With abeyance, you need to remember that you have to be registered to actually apply for abeyance. So just register and then apply for abeyance. I think the cutoff date, if I've got it correct, Mr. Stoffberg, is at the end of May. Am I correct in saying that?
Yes, indeed. It is the end of May every year.
Yeah, so the end of May. But if I'm you, get it done as soon as possible. Also, if there's not enough evidence, as the assistant dean, I look at those things. I will send you an email and ask for more details. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Prof. Can we go back to the MAC amendment, amendment form online for self-service, just to make it clear for the students?
Yes.
Yes, course amendment forms are for coursework, like undergrad and postgrad, like PG DIPS, MH Profs, 50/50s. But for Rs and Ds is the form that Prof. Liesel was demonstrating earlier.
I showed both, Charlotte.
Oh, okay. But it is working, Prof, for coursework. We
So
do
for
get
coursework. Okay, great. So for coursework, it's working and the self-service can be used.
Yes, we do get notifications where we can look at the student records. If we are not happy with the course or whatsoever, we will write a comment on it and say why it's being declined. And if it's approved, they will see it also on self-service that it's been approved. Thank you.
But that is only for PG DIP, honors, and professional masters. Am I correct?
Yes, only coursework, like 50/50, MH Prof.
Okay,
honors.
so 50/50 also works. Okay, so the amendment form, the amendment that you can do on self-service is just if you want to change courses.
Yes, only coursework. But if it's anything that has to do with Rs and Ds, which is only one course, which is a research, full dissertation and PhD, they have to complete all those forms that you shown prior.
Okay, great. I think if we can just get a communication in that regard, also just going out to the students, that would be fine, so that they don't have to just write it down now.
Professor
Ananisa?
Pandey, if I may, if you wouldn't
Yes.
mind, I think the course amendments also just need to be clarified a little bit in the sense that it's not a fully automated process. What happens is that the student would make a request through the self-service portal, and it gets sent to a particular faculty officer. Very often there needs to be some engagement with the school. There's a little bit of to and fro involved, and then the faculty officer needs to go back and code the decision, which triggers feedback to the student. So it might appear that the system is not working sometimes, but I don't think that that's the case. I think it's more a case of a little bit of time needs to be allowed for your request to be reviewed and for a decision to be made and for you to get the feedback. Thank you.
Yeah, great. Okay, guys, what I'm going to do is I see there's a lot of questions. Can I suggest that we write the questions in the chat? And then what I'll do is I'll ask Desmond if he can email them to me with your names, and then I will send you an email just to answer your questions. And if I can't answer it, I'll send it to the registrar to assist. Okay, because we're running, I think, very late on our program. Okay, thanks everyone.
Thank you so
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prof. And thank you so much to the faculty team. We are grateful to have you. And I think that now we are moving to the library. The reason why we brought the library is so that students are aware of the resources that are available for them. For instance, we have 14 divisional libraries, and the engineering hosts 2 of those libraries. We have a library in the Chamber of Mines, and then we have one that services the Chamber of Mines, services the engineering and the engineers, and then the one in architecture where Puti Bongi is overseeing services the planners, our built environment. So I would want to call, I think it's Puti and Pinky. They'll be here to talk to us briefly. And Puti, I would want you to talk more about the open access that is available to students, where they can actually publish for free and have it as open access, because the university has subscribed to some of these things. And in cases where they need to publish and get refund, how the processes work. So I think that is the time. So it's Pinky and Puti here, Bongi, sorry, I keep saying.
Good morning all. Yes.
Yes, yes, I see. Please go for it.
Pinky and Bongi are here. Bongi has gone out for a minute, but she will join us.
I can't hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello.
Bongi? We can hear you.
You can hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, something.
Yes, we can hear you.
I can't hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you as well.
Can anyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Desmond.
Good. Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Bongi, can you hear me? Or Pinky?
And I will be presenting a very short presentation from the library, and Bongi will continue with the explanation for the APC funding. Please allow me to share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Not yet.
Okay.
At the bottom, there is a...
Yes, I have shared, but I'm not sure what is happening here now. I have shared.
I'm
can you
actually...
see it now?
No, I can't see it, but I'm actually going to run to your office right now.
Okay, thank you so much. In the meantime, I will just say that as librarians, we are here to support you in your journey of acquiring your qualification by way of guiding you on how to access information resources relevant to your studies. We've got, as Prof has mentioned, we've got And also, as Desmond has just mentioned, we've got 2 libraries that are serving the 7 schools in the faculty. The one library, which is the Goldfields Engineering Library, is situated in the Chamber of Mines building on the upper ground floor. And the library that is serving the built environment, which is construction, architecture and planning, it is situated on the East Campus in the John Moffat building on the 1st floor. We have several services that we offer and that we also train on throughout the year. However, we have 2 major trainings, workshop trainings that are upcoming. They come twice a year, in the 1st year as well as in the 2nd year, in the 2nd half of the year. Can you see my presentation? Hello?
Yes, yes, we can see you. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Desmond. Okay, here are the 2 entrances to the library. This is the Goldfields Engineering Library, as I've just mentioned, on the upper ground floor of the Chamber of Mines building. And this is the Matheson Architecture Library on the East Campus in the John Moffat building. Bongi is the senior librarian in the Architecture Library, and I'm the senior librarian in the Engineering Library. This is how our staff component looks like. We are severely short-staffed at the moment. There is just the 2 of us being assisted by Salume, who is the principal librarian in the Sciences Library. In the Matheson Architecture Library, we have 3 staff members, Bongi there as the senior librarian, and 2 other people that are assisting her. As I've previously mentioned, the Architecture Library serves the School of Architecture and Planning, as well as the School of Construction, Economics and Management. And the Goldfields Engineering Library serves these 5 schools, which are the School of Chemical and Metallurgical Engineering, Civil Engineering, Electrical and Information Engineering, the School of Mechanical, Industrial and Aeronautical Engineering, as well as the School of Mining. These are contact details and our opening hours. All of our libraries have some sort of different opening hours. However, most of our libraries do open on weekends. I must just point out that in this building, next to the engineering library, we have a reading room, which is accessible 24 hours, 7 days a week. And our libraries are closed during public holidays. So in the reading room, there are no facilities, there are no computers or anything like that. It's just a reading space where you come with your laptop, sit and study or do your work. As I've just mentioned, we offer 2 postgraduate workshops twice a year in the 1st and 2nd semesters. The invitation comes from the postgraduate office. When you get the invitation, please look out for the gold program of the invitation. This is where the library offerings will be put on in the gold program. So please make sure that you attend the workshop, because this is where we offer extensive training on how to use our resources. We've got LibGuides, which are on the library homepage. Our LibGuides are subject portals. They are school specific. They are in alphabetical order, but there's a whole lot that is covering engineering as well as the built environment. And we also have research support LibGuides. So if you go into the library homepage, you will find all our LibGuides on there. And the LibGuides also cover the core databases that we use, which is where you are able to access our e-journals and e-books. And I must say that you are able to access the e-journals and e-books off campus. I will come to how we do that. In our training, we also offer training on plagiarism and copyright extensively. So it is important that you please attend these workshops. Other than that, we do offer training one-on-one as you come into the library as well. Another important service that we offer is the interlibrary loan service, which is for staff and our postgrad students. It's free of charge. It is meant for when the VETS libraries do not have the items that you need, because obviously we cannot have everything. So if perhaps you find that there is something that you need and we don't keep it at VETS, we have an interlibrary loan service, which you may access by filling in an online form and request whatever it is that you need. It may be locally or even internationally. So that service is free of charge. When your item is accessed or available, you get a notification. We also have a service of a letter of introduction. This service is not in these two libraries. It is based in the main library, which is on the East Campus, the Wharton-Weiler Library. The service is to offer our students who may want to use other universities that are closer to where they are staying. So you get a letter of introduction to go use the libraries, the other university libraries, and you are able to take out 4 books from those other university libraries. But there is a process to obtain the letter of introduction, which we will inform you about in the upcoming workshop, postgraduate workshop. The library pin is very important. We will assist you in creating one for those that do not have. The library pin enables you to access our e-resources off campus. So in most cases, if you need to access our e-books, our e-journals, you don't need to come into the library. All you need to have is a library pin, and you will be able to access the library off campus and search for information from wherever you are. We also have a library app, which is accessible on your smartphones, but it is a limited service because it only gives you access to the catalog, just to see if we have a book and where it is kept. So that is a limited service, but you can do that. We have photocopying in the library, printing, remote printing is also available. You may send documents from any library where you will be sitting, and you will be able to access and retrieve your documents from any other library. So you don't have to retrieve your documents from the library that you sent your documents to. You may be sitting in the Parktown Library, and maybe the next day you are on the East Campus. you can then just come into one of the libraries on the East Campus and access the documents that you've sent to the printer. And your documents will be available for 48 hours. So you can access them during that time. We also have scanning in the libraries, which is free of charge. We have what we call a self-checkout machine. Sometimes when you come to the library, it is quite busy. The issue desk, which is the reception area, is very busy. Students are standing there waiting, asking questions, and you just need to take out a book. We are able to do that. But in order to do that, you need a library PIN, which we will be able to help you create it in the workshop. Borrowing privileges, our master students are allowed to take out 12 items. PhD students are allowed to take out 15 books from any of all our 11 libraries. And they are allowed to keep the books for 30 days. And you are also allowed to renew the books 4 times. That means 30 times 4, 30 days times 4, as long as no one is waiting to use the material that you've taken out. Our theses are available online on our wired space. We will show you how to access them also in the upcoming workshop, which is happening in May, I think around the 14th. This is where we will be showing how to access our resources. We also train on how to use the reference management tool. At the moment, we use the Zotero management reference manager, which is free of charge, downloadable online. But we will also be training you on how to download and as well as use it. And besides the 2 upcoming postgraduate workshops, the Zotero training happens throughout the year. So be on the lookout for the invitation to attend the additional Zotero trainings. We also assist in the registration for ORCID. We do this. We will also demonstrate on how to do this in our upcoming trainings. This is mostly for PhD students or researchers, but whoever is interested in creating an ORCID ID, as well as masters, yes. But whoever, yes, is interested in creating an ORCID registration, we assist in that. We have a service that is called an Ask a Librarian. It's online. You may go into it any time of the day, ask a question, but please note that your questions might be attended to in about 2 days or so. It may be immediate during the day, but obviously during the night, your questions might be attended the next day. Sorry about that. Study facilities, we have the 24 hours, 7 days, 7 days reading room, which is situated in the Chamber of Mines building, just next to the engineering library. Inside the library, we have discussion rooms. We have about 3 discussion rooms, which we only allow about 3 people to access them, to use them for discussion. A minimum of 3 people and a maximum of 6 people. The reason being that they are not soundproof. So if it's more than that, it might be quite noisy throughout the library. We also have a space only for postgraduates and staff members, academic staff members. It's called the Research Commons. It is in the William Cullen Library, which is on the East Campus. There are laptops available there, and there's also an assistant to help you on whatever inquiries that you might have. So this will be it from me. Bongi will take over from me and explain further about the APC funding. Thank you.
Thank you so much, this Pinky. Bongi, over to you.
Good morning, colleagues. Can you hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. I didn't prepare a presentation for this because I'm not going to give you the detailed information. It's just to respond to the question that was posed earlier on by Stanley. And thank you for allowing me to briefly explain about the APCs, which is the article processing charges. By the way, it includes books as well. Maybe I can, if I can share my screen, I can just quickly show you the page where you can find the information from the library website. Let's see if you can see my screen. Let me know. Okay, I'm just going to quickly go to the library site. Where is my page now? If you can just give me a second. Yep. Sorry for a second. My screen is gone. Oh. I see it. And then want to go to the library page. You can open it here.
Okay, sorry guys, we can now proceed. Can you please see the library page?
Yes. Yes, we can, Desmond.
Yes?
We can.
Okay, good. Please
Okay.
go ahead.
Um,
Thanks a lot.
I'm hoping that we're all familiar in terms of how to get to the library page. So you just scroll down and come to this section here that says in this section, and then you have an access to our open access publishing at WITS and transformative agreements. So you click on this link. For now, it has this page that you have to pass by. Then you come here, see open access publishing at WITS. This part, this is where you, sorry, I just wanted to, we are sitting in the same space with, yeah, it's sorted. There was an echo. So here, you have transformative open access agreements. This is about where you can publish with this publisher. So far, we have these publishers where we have signed an agreement with them. We are going to soon add Springer Nature is one of the publishers that we have just recently signed the agreement with. This process is done with the other universities. So we have a consortium called Sunlick that is doing the agreements for us. So we have this access to publish with these publishers without paying a cent, provided you are publishing open access. And then if you are publishing to other publishers with an article processing charge or book processing charge, this is the page where you can access all the information. We have populated the guide as well as the application form here that you need to fill in and send it to me. But on that part, we are busy getting an e-tool, which means the traditional way of processing the articles was going to change. So I'm not sure as yet when will it be active, but it doesn't matter because we are still at the beginning of the year. I'm hoping that around May, June, we should be sorted. Even before that, I don't want to give you an estimation, but we'll send an announcement stating the way forward and how the processes are going to work. What I can state as well, with the APCs, the funding was 2/3 of what you pay to the publisher. But now, good news is that it's 100%, but the ceiling is up to 40,000. So if I just received a query of one author who is publishing with for APC, sorry, and he's been charged, I think, about 54,000. So what he's going to receive there, it's up to 40,000, regardless of how much you pay after that. In other words, the university can pay 100% of what you pay to the publisher, but up to 40,000 rands. So that is the process. This, for now, the process says you need to pay the publisher upfront, and then you claim for reimbursement. That's when you send all the documents to me. But currently, I have not started to process as before. I'm still waiting for a guide in terms of are we continuing with the traditional way until we have the e-tool, or we are waiting for the e-tool. That decision has not been made as yet. So you have these two options. It's your APC way or the transformative agreements. If you open one of the publishers, these publishers, they've got a list of journals where you can publish. They are accessible. And what I can also mention with the APCs, you publish for to hybrid as well as gold open access. That's what I just wanted to say. Thank you, unless there's a question. Anish, is your hand up? I'm not sure. Okay, I think I can take it back to Anish. You are muted if you are talking. Okay, Stanley, can you?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much, Bongi, for that presentation. It still goes back to what I was alluding to earlier. For a student who is barely surviving, where is the student supposed to get even half of the 40,000 to pay and then ask for a refund? You know, so I think we have to find a way around that challenge, and I don't know how that would work.
Sorry, Stanley, can I quickly come in here? And sorry about this, not to cut you short. But this thing we are talking about in terms of the APC, it's your supervisor's responsibility. This is something that you need to discuss with your supervisor, so that at least when Bongi gets all the document, it's much easier for them to facilitate the process. There is also another way where the supervisor is able to talk with the research office through Dr. Rob Drennan, so that at least there can be some understanding. So it is not the duty of the student, but rather the supervisor. I don't know if that clarifies the thing.
If I can come in, Desmond. If I can come in, Desmond, actually.
Please go for it. Bongi, go for it.
Yeah, you do clarify, but I must also add to say with the e-tool, the authors they are not going to pay upfront, the publisher, because the university will pay, they will do the processing. What you would pay, it's the difference, as per the example that I shared. So if your article it's being charged over 40,000, so you will be expected to pay that difference. Otherwise, with the new e-tool system, you will not be expected to pay upfront, because the process is to actually make life easier for the authors, so that you don't have to do that payment before upfront, so that you get to reimburse, as well as the administration of processing the claims. It's daunting currently. That is why we are moving to an e-tool, which is going to make life easier. You submit everything on the e-tool. Whoever the administrator will be will actually just come in to approve, and then from there you'll be notified if there's a difference that you need to top up from what the university is currently paying towards the APCs. I must also stress the point that if you are a student, you need to co-author with a full-time staff member from WITS. So for students, you can't be publishing alone in order to claim for these APCs. So you just need to make sure that you co-author. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I will take the last question from Ibrahim. May I also say that we have a comprehensive webinars and seminars throughout the year to address all these challenges. So this platform is also to just educate the first time postgraduate, and then from there we'll take it from there. So we would have an ample time to go through all this thing element by element. So it's also a way of me inviting you, when you see the email from the research office, from the ADU and from the faculty, it is very important that you attend this webinars. We've been doing it for the past 3 years, and these are some of the things you can easily know and then go. So Ibrahim, may I take your question? We are running behind time so that we can continue with the program. Ibrahim, come in and please be short and snappy.
Okay. The dean mentioned that there's a certain way to write publications. So I just wanted to know if there's any support from the university with that.
There are, and that is one of the things that I do. So drop me an email and let's take it from there. But there are so many support. You heard people talk about the gold program. We have writing retreat. We have all these things lined up for you. Please, and most of these things are quite free. Take advantage of this and make it work. We also have the writing center at the White and Wheeler Library. You can talk with your supervisor and get help also from there. So there are resources all over the place. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Pardon?
You said thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
sure. I think we running behind time, so I would just want to call on the director of the ADU, Rodney, who is going to talk about the ADU in 5 minutes. Prof. Genga, You have 5 minutes so that, and then there are some videos that some of our postgraduate students have compiled. We'll play that one, and then we would have a short talk from an academic, and then we'll end the program so that the first time postgraduate student, you can just move to PDH. We're going to PDH to continue. We have a special package for our first timers over there so that we can move. So, Prof. Genga, over to you.
Thank you, Desmond. Are you able to hear me? Am I audible?
Loud and clear.
Yes, so I think following the instruction that you had given, I hear the 5 minutes. Would it be possible to stretch it to about 7 or 8? There was just a short few questions around competencies. I thought I'd share with you.
You have 10 minutes. Let's do it in 10 then.
That is more than perfect.
But then we'll come back later, you know.
Yes, no problem. So what I will do then is I'm copying something on the chat. Please use that to access a platform which I'm about to show now. So anyone, I've typed in, it's www.menti.com. It will allow you to go straight into a short survey we're about to do now. That would allow us to prepare for the session we're about to run. So if you give me 1 second, I'll share my screen now, and you should be able to see what I'm seeing. Please let me know if you are able to see my screen, Desmond.
Yes, can see it.
Okay. So please use the link I've just pasted in the chat that will allow you to access this. I see we're just about 200. So if you just use that it's a few questions around what competencies we're looking at, what are the expectations, and we'll help guide hopefully what we'll be engaging with today, but more information for Desmond and his department to know how well to position the kind of support that we'll give this year. So with that said, please just use this. This is it's a dummy question just to test that you're able to access the platform. And then we'll go straight into the Q&A. So please, this is an opportunity for you to share some of your thoughts and some of the things you're thinking about. So kindly just use that link. It will give you access to the question that is here, and that will allow you to very, very quickly share what you're thinking at this moment, because it will then allow us to touch on what competencies are you interested in? What are the kind of skills that will prove most useful for you as you carry on with your studies through our institution? So we've got quite a few responses already. So some are coming in. Just use that to type very, very quickly. I'll give it maybe 30 more seconds. Then we'll move into the segue. I see a hand is up by Ibrahim. Is that a legacy hand or is that a new hand? Okay, it's a legacy.
All right, we're about to take it off.
No, thank you very much, sir. Okay, so let's just quickly populate this. I think the numbers are coming in. Generally, everyone seems to be good. I see someone who is surviving. That's something, Desmond, please take note of that. If you're having any particular challenges, this is a space where you'll be able to access the ADU, because this is the ADU talk, just to get some meaningful feedback from you. Someone says ecstatic, I'm happy for that, excited, excellent, better, all right, anxious, stressed. I think Desmond, through the ADU, there is quite a lot of support, not just for undergraduate, but for postgraduate, supported by the faculty to be able to provide the kind of support that you would need. So with that said, this is just a warm-up question, just to allow us to move to the next ones, which are a little bit more detailed around what kind of competencies we'll be looking at. So I'll move across because of time. I'll move to the next question, if you don't mind. Very quickly, just please select the program that you're taking for your postgraduate studies. This ranges through all our programs. This is just to give us an opportunity to see if we've got everybody represented here within the. We just want to make sure if we've left out any programs. I see biomed and digital art may not suffice for this. So that makes sense. I'm trying to look around. What degree programs do we have represented here? Please participate. I will resend the link for those that didn't get it, so that please use that link. This just gives us a breakdown of who is here. We want to know if we've got representation from all the different groups expected within the faculty. So kindly just send in your responses there quickly. I see Aero has popped up now. I see mining is not here. I see biomed in postgrad, that's welcomed. I'm very, very excited at least to see that. And I think mining and digital arts. Again, this is feedback information to go back to Des. Okay, mining has popped up, thank you. And so digital arts, this just gives us an array of the programs that are here. It's feedback for both Desmond and Prof. Van Dyke to know who's actually attending the talk and what kind of disciplines are here, which ones are not here. Again, because of time, we won't extend this further. I'm hoping it's giving everyone a chance to quickly submit something and get used to the platform so we can move to the next question. We'll give it maybe 10 more seconds and then we'll move across. This is just high level data capturing, just to let us know. It's quite anonymous, so you don't have to worry. You can be as honest as possible in the responses that you'll give us. So pretty much from what we can see in terms of representation, pretty much all the programs are here. Digital arts is clearly something that is still lacking. Construction is very well represented here, which is a plus, I think. And the other schools, I think it's something that we need to look at ourselves a little bit more differently in terms of how we try and approach this. With that said, because of time, let's move to the next question. I'll then move across. Why did you decide to do a postgraduate qualification? Please, you can type that in. I'll hide it so we don't bias ourselves. Why are you interested in what you're studying? If you don't mind, just kindly just type it. It could be for expertise, for the money. It could be a career trajectory for you. You can want to go into academia. I hope I'm not biasing the data set. Just at a very high level, why are you studying what you're studying? Why did you decide to come and do this? You don't have to. For you to be doing a postgrad, it means you have some prior qualification. Was it not enough? Or is there something very specific that you're trying to achieve through this? This data is also quite critical for us as the ADU because it starts to allow us to know how well to position the kind of ambitions and expectations that our students have while they're coming to join our programs. So please feel free to share that as well. I can see someone's trying to call me, but I'll hang that up. Sorry. I apologize. I hope I'm still audible. Okay, we've got a couple of responses that quite a few have come in. So someone said it seemed fun. I'm glad there was that interest in coming to do it, to further my career and my doors, to get a job. That's something, Desmond, I hope you're paying attention to that. Career growth, career and personal development, advance my career. We skip in careers as something that's quite consistent. For the expertise, we also take note of that. I think that's something we need to look out for. To upskill and gain specialized expertise, career and expertise is quite common. Personal goal, okay, that's good. Diversifying my career, okay, that's something we'll take note of. To become more well-rounded as an engineer, MEC and ELEC, so we'll take that. Extend my academic impact in industry, we'll take note of that. Career as well. To advance my knowledge in the area of expertise, we'll take that as well. To increase my technical skill, so still career, skill capability. I need a more fulfilling job, okay? That's also something we didn't see, so we'll take that into account. Undergraduate degree is not enough, okay? We appreciate that. Career trajectory, love for the built environment. Thank you so much for that. Competitive, okay, that's a key one as well. We've got industry engineer is important for both producer and end user and production industry, and that type of engineer offers me a lot of insight and a lot of career opportunities. I need growth in my career, so growth is here. Because of time, I'll pack it there. But thank you for giving us some of these high-level views. Desmond will get access to this, as this will allow us in terms of the decisions we try to make. Last but not least, if you are looking at the 3 competencies that you would like to get out of this qualification that will allow you to be successful as a professional, either as a professional or as a professional or someone in academia, what would these competencies be? Maybe see if you could please give any feedback. What are these 3? Whatever 3 skills you think through studying your postgraduate qualifications, this would make sense to you. If you don't mind just typing that. It's hidden, so you can just share it, and we'll unpack it once we get your responses. Am I still audible?
Yes, you are.
Thank you, thank you. I'm just making sure. I'm working within 7 minutes, so I hope, Desmond, I'm not moving too quickly. I know this information is critical, and I think from your portfolio, this is insight that is quite useful to you as well as our assistant dean as well. What are the 3, if you had to highlight, they don't have to be in a ranked order, what 3 competencies, what skills do you think, if you come into your postgraduate study, just off the top of your head, what are you hoping to extract? You can even say you're not sure, but this just allows us to see what are your expectations versus what are we believing, at least as people developing these structures, as the competencies that will give you the competitive advantage, whether in going to academia or going into professional workspace outside academia. What are these competencies? If you had to highlight 3, what would these 3 be? This is an insight data set to allow us to know how to navigate this. As you're typing, what I'm going to do then is I'm just going to quickly, because of time, unpack so we can quickly see what people are thinking. So we've got critical thinking, problem solving, and wealth generation, okay? We need to remember that. Data science, project management, and reporting. We've got technical skills and analytical solving, critical thinking still comes in, quantitative survey, project management, property development. We've got technical skills. Critical thinking seems to be quite strong. Problem solving, critical thinking, systems thinking, also that's quite strong. Analytical thinker, proficient data analyst, good researcher, research, project management. Because of time, I'll scroll down. Supervision leadership. Okay, supervision leadership. We'll take that. R&D, presentation, conduct research and develop expertise, improving my critical thinking, analytical thinker, proficient. Desmond, I hope you're picking up all of this. I will share this with you as well. EXA registration client, satisfaction in my work, technical skill, qualitative research, project management, and leadership. Analytical, advanced, and new technology. Because of time, we don't have a lot of time to go through this. You can continue to populate these separately, but that just gives us a very high level view of some of the skills that you are looking to be able to extract and get out of. What I will then do in the next 2 to 3 minutes is just show you what are the skills from our side we believe that we would like you to be able to take out. What I'll ask Desmond is, because of the interest of time, we will have a different workshop. It could even be the opening program we will deal with when we do the engagements with our students around the webinars that you run that will allow us to unpack on this in more detail. I hope that will be okay with you, Desmond. What I'll do is watch them just at a glance level, and then I hope it will whet your appetite for what we believe as people within this space. What are some of the skills we hope you'd be able to take out?
It's a teaser. Prof. Genga, we are giving our students a teaser. We want them to know that the rebranding agenda is on.
Okay, what I'm going to do, tell me if you're able to see my screen. I think I need to do this. I need to swap the display. Is it visible, Desmond?
Not yet. I'm still seeing the Mentimeter.
Let's see. Oh, you know what I need to do? I made a mistake. Sorry. Give me 1 second. I didn't switch. Okay. Tell me if you're able to see my screen now.
There we go. Go for it.
So in about, I won't be more than 3 minutes. Desmond, if I'm over, please cut me. Do not hesitate. So what are some of the skills and competencies that we hope as our postgraduate students, you'll be able to take out from it? So from our side, I'll just quickly, high level, just go through them. There isn't time to be able to unpack. But the first one we're looking at is from a time management perspective. And with this one, in terms of time management, we're looking at what is your rhythm in terms of balancing your work-life balance to be able to pursue something you're hopefully passionate and focused from a career perspective, trying to create and introduce new knowledge, but also being able to balance and work on other projects that might be within a mature and exposure space that you're working in. Critical thinking, you've mentioned it already, which I'm grateful for. How do you critique knowledge? How do you critique information? How do you create new knowledge that you believe can also contribute to differences and meaningful impact globally, not just locally? How do you have that level of insight? Because of time, skills is typically the most obvious one, especially somebody coming to do it, whether you're doing it as 50-50. And I appreciate the comment that was given by Prof. Van Dijk earlier. Being able to work and do research is not an easy balance for one to do. But what are some of the expectations? Research skills, and what does that actually mean as a competency? It should be the most obvious when you get employed in this space, when you've done a master's or a PhD. There is that baseline understanding that one can do research. One can go into information that already exists and create something new out of it that can allow them to have either a competitive advantage in an applied science or applied industry institute or within an academic space. We'll touch on that in more detail. Writing skills, you'll be surprised how this is something we take for granted, but is a critical aspect of what an outcome should look like. Adaptability, it's not something we talk about quite frequently, but the reason, if one is looking at research and constantly reviewing material that already exists, one needs to be able to pivot the research that they're doing, the areas of expertise they're going in. Some have said about furthering their career. How are you able to adapt quite quickly in terms of the changes in technology and advancements that are happening locally and globally? Another one which is critical and not really talked about quite heavily is collaboration and networking skills. These, and I'll touch on it in the end, maybe because of time, I have to move forward. Another one is informed or information seeking. These two in particular at the end, I'll touch on them in a few seconds, are arguably the most critical in terms of when we unpack this. So if we do this correctly, one should be able to govern all this. The three that we are naturally expected, research skills I won't even mention because it's a direct competency that one should be able to take up. How do you balance in terms of your time? How do you get the right critical thinking? How do you get the right writing skills? You've had the dean talk about publishing, and what does that mean? How do you respond and how do you communicate in terms of what you're putting out? But fundamentally, these last three, adaptability, collaboration, and networking, as well as informed. When I say informed, how current are you with advancements and development within your space, within your industry, within the career objective that you want to go? How do you find other supporting technologies that allow this to move quickly? Not just your focus in your research, but beyond that, how do you stay informed within current trends that allow you to have the competitive advantage within that space? Collaboration and networking, as well as adaptability. These three red skills, if I allow me to say, are arguably the most critical for anyone looking to advance within their career. And the reason why these three are critical, I'll be able to touch on the pretty much last two slides as we close this up. Megatrends. If your research is not at least looking into some of these, then one needs to review themselves and see how to adapt it to some of these, from digitization to climate change, all the way to energy, urban population and urbanization. The built environment would be really spearheading a lot of this, and globalization, with a key focus, if you allow me to move forward, on population and urbanization. Africa as a continent, we all are aware, by 2050, we're estimated to be over 2 billion. What does that mean? And within the research scope that you find yourself in, how do you start to factor some of this meaningfully in terms of pivoting yourself to be able to touch on these, to be able to make, allow me to say, competency or skills that allow you to further or develop in your career, irrespective of the discipline you find yourself in. Lastly, this is the last slide. Historically, Africa was consistently worked or partnered within regions like SADC at the bottom of the South African group. We had East Africa, which was ECOMOG, and we had ECOWAS in the West and the Northern Alliance, but that is significantly breaking now because of the challenges and opportunities that have been faced in the continent, where we're now thinking continentally. And what we mean by this, the key challenges that which I'm telling you are research opportunities with the skills that we're hoping for you to get to pivot towards our issues around poverty, governance, political and instability, those who might find themselves in policy and how that can allow you to transfer and build on already what exists, education and employment, what does that mean? And last but not least, healthcare, and the last one is climate change. These are the 5 pillars within which the competencies I'm hoping that you extract start to pivot towards to give you the competitive advantage for the next step of your careers. Because of time, I was going to go through all of those in more detail, but I'll pack it up there and I'll leave it to Desmond as we plan something ahead. Desmond, over to you. I hope I have
Thank you so much, Prof. Genga. And this will be the opening when we start the year properly. This will be an opening, a thing that we will do so that at least our students know that this is what. And I think one thing that the good professors did not mention is that the assistant dean for postgraduate is actually spearheading what we call the faculty postgraduate rebranding agenda. And what we are trying to do is that we want this faculty to become so very good that we cannot be ignored, and it to be a faculty of choice for every engineer, architecture, planner, you name them. So that you're beginning to see a lot of things coming your way. However, I'm actually going to go now and play a short video. It's about 20 minutes, I think. I hope it works. I tried learning how to use Zoom this morning, so forgive me if... and just let me know if you guys can hear me.
My name is Caroline Caetano, currently studying my master's degree in the...
Can you hear?
Loud and clear, Desmond.
Yes. Environment. And I must say, my journey in the as a postgraduate student has not been an easy one. But one thing I can say is that it's
Desmond, I think we lost audio for a second there.
studies have been. So I'll just start with Percy. If you could just tell us a brief about your journey, your challenges, the opportunities, the successes. Over to you.
Thank you for having me. And I think you've said a mouthful that the journey is both challenging and fulfilling at the same time. And I think that cuts across. I've gone through the same journey, but I think best for me was that I went through my postgraduate studies in the same school. So I already acclimatized myself with the staff and the facilities around there. But otherwise, I think the postgraduate journey is your journey as a student. You need to own it. Make sure that you get to meet with your supervisors on a regular basis.
Thank you so much. I think I'll just get in as well and just chip in. So my name is Matlatsi, as Caroline has already mentioned. I also a postgraduate student in the School of Mechanical, Industrial and Aeronautical Engineering. So I'll just, share the same sentiments in that, this journey is quite intensive, but it's also fulfilling. I think both Caroline and Percy here already mentioned that, and I must say that, I agree with them fully. So just maybe a reflection on my master's journey, because I'm now doing my PhD, is that, for my master's, I didn't really know what I was doing, or rather what I was going to be doing. I found a supervisor who happened to have money. I didn't have a topic in mind, so they sort of just, they also didn't have a clear topic, so we sort of just discussed the topic. We had an understanding of what the topic could be. We just needed to work around it and basically make the topic, a reality. So we started off because he knew that he wanted to get into optimization, and he was working with composite materials. So when we discussed it, became an optimization of nanocomposite materials for my work. And I must say that I had to spend extra hours, extra efforts, to try and understand what the topic really was. But I must also say that because it was within the School of MIA, and I was already familiar with the surroundings and the environment, I was able to just quickly adapt and work it through. And I must just say that I finished my master's within 1.5 years, which is, I think it is impressive. But it didn't just come like that. We had to work through, and I think Percy already mentioned that, meeting with supervisors, or rather knowing the supervisors that you're working with, I had to meet with him regularly. I think we got to a point where we met every week, just to touch base and discuss some of the things that, we needed to do. So for me, I found it to be very helpful. So I was able to do my work, finish, the milestone, the short-term goals, and also the long-term goals. Because at the end of the master's, we were able to publish the paper, and it's now collecting citations. So I'll leave it for now, and then we'll just, maybe talk about other issues within the journey.
Oh, that is so great, guys. Having to finish the master's and actually having a paper published, that's like a really milestone. Because for some of us, well, different from Matlatsi, personally, I already knew what I wanted to do in my master's, in as much as, I had not planned initially that I wanted to do a master's. But my topic I had already selected when I was doing my research in 4th year. So what happened is I had worked with my supervisor on a vacation work, doing something else that was in another topic. So now when it came to selecting our topics for our research in 4th year, it happened that I got to the supervisor. And the topics that were there, most of them we had covered them during our vacation work. So now he suggested that I choose something else that was different, that I had not looked at. And that is what I then focused on my fourth year project. And when I got to masters, we just said, well, I should continue with the same topic because there was still a lot of ground that needed to be covered. So that's how I got to choose my topic. And something that I really love that Percy mentioned, owning your journey. It's very important that you own your journey because this is your journey. It's not anybody else's. I think many of us will make a mistake where we want the supervisor to be saying, do this, do that, stop there, okay, continue there, and stuff like that. But it's something that you need to own it and be the one who's actually the driver in having your supervisor to be supporting you and not you supporting the supervisor. But anyway, I just wanted to find out from Percy and Mashati, what are the things that you think worked in this journey? What worked and what didn't work? What can you say, about...
Yeah, I think let me take it first. I think first thing is to avail yourself to be a member of the community, the research community. First, you need to go through the faculty, the school, and even some of your colleagues in the office. You need to be familiar with those people and form a live research group. Not that we know there are other extramural activities outside of the research because it's quite stressful, so you tend to also have some play, but at the same time we'll need to have an engaged office that will shape the research because, like I said, that you need to have ownership of the research.
Okay, I think I'll just also chip in there. So I think when I think about my journey, I'll just infer from my masters. Not to say that I don't enjoy PhD or that I don't have anything to say about PhD, but I'll just say that with my masters, some of the things that I found very important or critical are those weekly meetings with the supervisor. And the reason I'm also mentioning this, because it ties down to the prioritizing and also time management, is that when you are in undergrad, you've got specific timelines. You know that in April, May, you're going to be writing your tests, and in end of May, June, you're writing your exams. And there are certain assessment dates that you're already given. So with your masters, you don't have, or rather in postgraduate, you don't have those timelines. You have to set the timelines. Yes, you've got the proposal that you write and you say, I want to stick to these timelines, but no one holds your hand, and certainly not the supervisor. So it's more from your perspective rather than anyone else. So you need to definitely have those communities where you hold each other accountable. I remember we had a research team supervised by one supervisor, and we had also our own meetings to ask each other, where are you, what is going on, what are you struggling with, so that form of community or other collaboration also assisted in us being able to succeed, certainly for me. And I think it's the same with my PhD journey now, that we're meeting almost every week with my supervisor, and those are some of the things. And I think I'm fortunate to have supervisors who've been insisting on our meetings as well. So I think in terms of the things that worked, that is that. And for the things that didn't work, I'll have to think about that. But yeah, for now, let's stick with that. Thank you.
Yeah, so just to chip in on what Matat has said about meeting your supervisor. So if you can't get a formal meeting with your supervisor, meet them informally for coffee in the morning or something. Those chats help a lot because that's where you get most of your ideas in terms of refining your research. And at the same time, the supervisor also gets engaged to say, okay, this student is engaged in this, and they're able to refer you to some literature that maybe you were not aware of, or maybe even in that research community, you are able to get some collaborators that will be able to assist you in terms of taking your research further. Maybe there was an element that you were really not looking at, but one of your colleagues was maybe researching on optimization, but I just didn't know that in terms of my materials, producing my materials, I'll need to involve some optimization in it. Then now we are able to engage at an intellectual level. At the same time, also you also need that relationship that you create with your supervisor. It makes it easy for you when you have to manage certain conflicts that might arise, because now you will be engaging on a more collegial path to say, okay, even when you have personal problems, you'll be able to engage your supervisor to say, no, I can't do 1, 2, 3 things because I'm facing 1, 2, 3 in my life, because this is quite a tax engine.
So yeah, sorry, I'm not cutting you off. I just wanted to, because you mentioned one critical thing about thinking of the supervisor now more as a colleague than So there's that shift of mentality that one must definitely have when you transition into postgraduate, because as Percy rightfully said, you become more of colleagues. Than you're looking at a student-lecturer relationship. It doesn't become, certainly it doesn't have to be that way. And I think also with my journey in the postgraduate, I had to, especially when I just joined for my master's, I had to certainly change that, because my supervisor was my lecturer. So, and he was known to be one of those very tough lecturers during this, when we were still undergraduate. So now to shift the mentality was, something that I had to do very quickly. And it turned out that it was very nice. It was a very good supervisor for me, where we chat about life, issues, challenges, and even today I can say that we are, he's my mentor and he's my friend.
That is, wow, that's wonderful, guys. And I think one of the things that I just picked from both of you, accountability and understanding that as you're on this journey, you're not alone. In as much as you have to own your research, but you are not necessarily supposed to be working on your own, and now you're just suffering all by yourself, but you need to collaborate with others, be accountable to somebody, you have discussions, and in that way you actually get to broaden your understanding on your own topic, as well as learn from others some of the things that you can also, incorporate in your research. So that is like something that I think it's one of the lessons as well that I've learned, because in the beginning of my postgraduate journey, I thought that, okay, this is my own journey, I'm just going to do whatever it is that I have in my head. But sometime during the course of the studies, I realized that if I keep this to myself and not, discuss with others, be accountable to someone, it was not going to work, it was not going to work at all, because you'll be stressed, you'll be depressed. You need somebody to be there by your side, that you can just, okay, this is what I'm thinking, and they can tell you that, well, I think maybe if you do it this way, it might work, So it's very important, collaborating. And and as for meeting with the supervisor, that one, I think somebody would want to know how often really should you meet with your supervisor, because I had Percy was saying that if you cannot meet with them formally, then meet with them informally. So does that count? How often do you have to meet with your supervisor?
I think as often as you breathe in, because this is your research. I mean, in those corridors, in the office, or maybe you can even, if there's a possibility, you meet them over weekends, if they are available, to just have a chat over the research. And then, because at the same time, you'll be building on the conversation that you have. Hence why I'm emphasizing you as a researcher existing in a community. With the question that you'll be having with your colleagues in your office, then you'll be able to now take those questions up with your supervisor to say, no, I got this kind of advice, how do I go about it? And then that's how now even your literature or your research gets to advance.
Okay, just maybe if I can do a very quick one on that one of our meeting with your supervisor. I think it's very important that when you meet with the supervisor, you should have done your groundwork because, you know, as much as they can be your supervisor, they don't want people who are going to be wasting their time. So you do your research and make sure that whatever that you're going to discuss is things which are, you know, very important and critical to your work. I think I'll leave it there so that we can start going to discuss other things. Thank you.
So yeah, so there we have it about meeting the supervisor. So I just remembered something, you know, when I started my postgraduate journey, somebody had actually told me that, you know, when you are in postgrad, you get to travel, you get to go places, you get to go international, you know. And at that time, guys, don't tell the secret to anyone, I had never seen an aeroplane. Not really seen, but I've never been on an aeroplane. So it was one of the things that really attracted me to join, like to get into this journey of postgraduate. And I understand that Pesi and Mashati, you've been abroad to present on your research. Can you tell us, you know, how has it been and how did you do it?
Well, for me, I think it started in the school that I got to have this interest that even sparked, you know, some kind of collaboration with people who were not even my supervisors. I mean, one of my highest cited papers, it's a paper that I didn't do within my work. You know, it was a work that someone saw that this person has got interest, and then they were able to, I can say, boost my morale to say, you can do this. And from there, that's when I also went back to teach myself particular things, and then I was able to get the first trip that I think I did was an international trip. That was my first time on a flight to Rome.
So I'm not alone.
Yes, no, these things happen. So this too is to also show that, you know, research can also open such opportunities. And I was there alone, but before going there, I was prepared by my now PhD supervisor. So you can see how the relationship got to grow from bank, I can say from masters to PhD. Now we have a support of people banking you up. And going to conferences, it takes preparation on its own because you need to know your story. Because this is an international platform, at least in my case, you are representing yourself, your country, and your university. So as we say, that's for good. You know, you can't be taking mediocre to the world. So you need to know your stuff. So I mean, I think we can have a side conversation on that, on how to prepare for such things.
I think I also just want to get in there. Mine is to say some of the practical steps. I think it's on a high level. Is, you know, when you're meeting with your supervisor for the first time, having discussed topics and whatnot, and in your field, they should have an understanding of, you know, what are some of the conferences that, you know, you can earmark. You know, right from the onset, you're working towards those milestones, because those are some of the deliverables, rather, you know, that you need to have for your PhD or even for your master's. So in essence, work with a supervisor who is also thinking of, you know, publishing, who are big on, you know, people expanding to, you know, within and contributing to the body of knowledge. I think that's why we're here. That's why we're doing research, because we want to contribute. And, you know, one of the ways in which you're contributing is through publishing, as well as, you know, presenting at conferences. So I think I'll pack it there. Yeah, thank you.
And also take initiative, you know, when they when conferences are being published out there, take initiative. You can take it to your supervisor. There's this conference, I think I want to do this on this conference, you know. I remember the first conference that I actually presented on abroad. I actually just saw the advert and I went to my supervisor. I just wrote my abstracts, you know, everything that they wanted. I gave it to my supervisor. And I told him that, okay, I have this abstract, this is what I want to present on, and I would like this opportunity, you know. And because you have shown that you are really interested, you've shown your interest, you've shown the initiative.
And you're working.
Exactly. It's really easy for him to actually be like, okay, let's go for it, you know. So it's very important, guys, it's very important. And also just to remember that there are support structures, guys, that you can be able to get all the help that you need, relating to your postgraduate studies. Like what I said before, you are not alone in this journey. And we just want to welcome you guys. Welcome to this journey. It's going to be a fulfilling one, I promise you. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Can you guys hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can.
Yes, yes.
Yes, we can hear you, Desmond.
So that is just a tip of the iceberg. And if you have noticed, that video was not edited. And so it tells you that people speak from their heart. One thing I want to say, as we prepare to have one of our alumni and also a senior lecturer in one of the schools down there to talk to us, from the faculty to talk to us as he prepares. And I hope Dr. Michael Bodorin is listening to me as he prepares to come on board, is the fact that gone were the days where we were told that engineers cannot communicate or engineers cannot do this or that. We are now becoming very good at anything that we do, because there's kind of skills. Whether you are doing architect, you're an architect, you communicate through your drawings. Whether you are a construction, tell me, you name them, you communicate through the things that you do. And so that is just a tip of the iceberg, where our students, some of them are just at the verge of finishing, telling you that it's not an easy journey, but then you will go through it. And this reminds me of telling you that pressure makes diamonds and fire purifies gold. By the time you walk through these doors of Wits University and from this faculty, you will be somebody that will be a person of note. Having said that, we have Dr. Bodorin, like I said. Big brother, can you hear me? Are you here?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Good. Michael is going to talk to us about making the most out of your postgraduate and degree, and he's going to talk about 5 tips to get him started. I think I chose him personally to come talk about this because he lived it, he's been through it, and I think that he has scars that he wants to share to make the journey more easier for us. So, Doc, over to you.
Thank you so much. Can everyone see my slide?
We can see your slide. We can also see you. Go for it.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me. It's really a pleasure. Good morning, everyone. It's not afternoon yet. My name is Michael Uluwatosin Bodorin. I prefer to be called Michael because I think that's easier. And today I'll be talking to you about 5 tips for getting the most from a postgraduate program. The next slide I'm going to show you is not something that I always like to do, but I think because it's very, very relevant to this, to what we're doing today, and that's the reason why I will be showing you this next slide. And I would like to mention that Prof. Genga and the last video that we've watched actually covered most of the things that I'll be talking to you about today. So it's more or less like trying to reinforce most of the things that you've heard, but then maybe you see some other practical examples. So let's go to it. So the next slide, okay, why is my slide not moving? Okay, the next slide is just to give you an overview of my career growth since obtaining PhD at Wits. So I registered for my PhD in 2014 and I completed it in 2018, which took me about 4 years and a few months. And immediately after that, I started my postdoctoral fellowship. But one thing is that before I got the grant that enable me to do my postdoctoral fellowship, I had already failed to get NRF postdoctoral opportunity, and I'll talk about failure as we proceed on this slide. But that failure was actually a blessing in disguise, because I was among the 7 Africans that were selected for this particular postdoctoral fellowship. And it was quite a lot of grants in dollars that I wouldn't want to mention now. So maybe that can start to inspire you. And then a year later, I got an award from my previous university. Then the following year, I secured a position at WITS. And in 2022, these are some of the things that I achieved. I was appointed guest editor, listed among top 2% of globally recognized researchers in the world. And of course, I became a chartered engineer in the UK. And of course, I became NRF rated researcher same last year. So all this, did you think it happened after my PhD? No. Yes, it happened after my PhD, but most of the work were done during my PhD. And today I just want to give you 5 tips or maybe 5 things that I saw myself do during that time. And I've seen some of my colleagues that we did PhD and masters together here at WITS, follow the same template, and they're doing well in the industry, they're doing well everywhere. When Prof. Genga asked the very important question that you must ask yourself as a postgrad, he said, why have you registered for a postgrad? And somebody said, undergraduate is not enough. I totally agree. You really want to be competitive. People talked about critical thinking, and that is one thing that our program at WITS offers you. You would be a critical thinker. Somebody talked about diversifying. You want to be able to adapt to different opportunities that might come your way. You will see from some of the examples I'll show you how my program at WITS has helped me to really be a little bit diverse, despite the fact that I have my own area of specialization. And of course, you can see already on this first slide what my career growth looks like since I finished my PhD. So in fact, today's talk, I think the template that I wish to share with you seemed to answer all the questions or seem to answer all the objectives that you have in mind, that you have really mentioned as the reason why you have registered for a postgraduate program. So the next thing I would like to talk about is we should be defining what academic excellence is. When you completed your previous degree, you actually attended a graduation and you were all greeted, you were all congratulated, like, yeah, congratulations, you finished your degree. But we know that inside us, we all have different feelings about that. And if not for the time, I would have asked 1 or 2 comments for you to describe the pictures that you see on the slide, but I would just give an answer, and I'm sure you would agree with me. Okay, so one of the graduates, probably the best graduating student, is like, you know what, dear family, here's the degree you asked for, can I follow my passion now? We don't want this to even be your story by the end of your postgrad program. This could be your story when you finish your undergrad or master's. So, and there are so many people, even on that very day when on the graduation day, they were happy, but at the same time, they are confused as to what to do next. And there's someone who says, yeah, you know what, I've done it, now I'm ready for the next challenge. I want to assume that everyone here, we're all ready for the next challenge. And this is what we really look for. If you have this mindset already, I think you're ready to do well in your postgraduate degree program, be it master's or PhD. So all of this, yes, they had graduation probably on the same day, but excellence means something different to everyone. So we now need to start looking at how we see academic excellence. For example, as undergraduate students, you want to get like a cum laude, getting good grades, but have seen that sometimes not the most successful within our cohorts or classmates are not those who finish with the top grades. There are people who eventually become critically and socially transformed as a result of the education that they have had in the school. So some believe like finishing in record time is the best. I mean, when I finished my undergraduate program, I finished within record time, but I was this guy that spent a year more than I did, and it's probably more successful than I am today. But of course, being successful is also relative, and that can be argued at any point, but we leave that for another day. So, you know, you have all this criteria regarding how you define academic excellence. As postgraduate students, you also say, no, I finished my PhD in 3 years. I've got a lot of friends who brag about that. Yeah, I finished in 4 years more, but I think maybe I have some more things to show for it because I finished a little late compared to someone who finished in record time. So your journey, like they said, it's your journey. It's different for everyone. Just make the most of it. People want to be a critical thinker, which is very important. And of course, some people do all this program because they want change in title. I'm someone who's got a PhD, but I don't like to be referred to as a doctor. Even if I eventually become a professor, I also wouldn't like to be referred to as a professor, but many people just do it for that sake, especially politicians. But that's just to crack some joke there anyway. So, but for me, the academia seemed to have a template that if we all follow as postgrad students, what it would do is that it would help all of us to actually achieve our objective of coming for a postgraduate program. So if you are going to end up in the academia, you have to be excellent in these three categories. The first one is you need to be excellent in scholarship, that's research more or less, in teaching and in service. In service, that could be academic service or community service. So most of the time, we want to finish our program, our education, before we start doing this. But as postgrad students, we have the opportunity to start doing that immediately. And if we do that, we'll fit in perfectly well into the industry, we'll fit in perfectly well into the community, and we'll fit perfectly well into the environment. So, and today, I would like to share with you some of the tips that you can actually follow to achieve excellence in all of this. But before I do that, the next slide would try to unpack this a little bit more. So what do we mean by excellence in scholarship or research? You want to publish good research articles, maybe by publishing in high impact factor journals, or maybe writing an article that attracts a lot of citations, not self-citations, but citations from peers. Prof. Ivan Osaja would say the research is not complete until it's published, and those who identify what you've published as new knowledge are those who cite it. Basically, you also want to be able to attract research grants. Gone are the days when they think that it's only professors or people in the academia that can attract research grants. There are many opportunities nowadays for students to actually attract research grants. I attracted a few myself as a student. And then maybe if you have innovative research outputs, are you contributing new solutions? Prof. Genga talked about some of the challenges we have in Africa, the mega trends and all that. So is your research contributing to the kind of solutions that we need today? We are celebrating ChatGPT and other technologies and all that. What role are you playing in that? But if you are able, if you can manage to do all those, maybe you'll be considered excellent in scholarship. Research award is also one of those. You want to try and tick those boxes. There are many of these things, and in the course of the year, when the faculty will be giving you other seminars and webinars, you will see details about how you can check all these boxes, and we are here to support you. Excellence in teaching. As a PhD student, I was a tutor. I taught second year, as a tutor. I support them and all that. And, unfortunately, there's no awards for tutors during my time. I think maybe that would be changing. That would change, basically. But you want to be part of that because when you're able to teach, you improve your communication skill. When you get into the industry, you want to be able to communicate well. If you remain in academia, you can come up with new ideas on how to teach better based on your experience. And teaching as a postgrad student also help you to really add something to your CV as your teaching experience. Testimonials, word of mouth is very good. I mean, when I was a student, some of my students then when I was a PhD student, some of my undergrad students are now postgrad students now. I didn't know I was going to become a lecturer. And now some of them still say, oh, no, I remember this thing that you said this time and all that. So you get recommendation and word of mouth, which is quite fulfilling. So that also makes you an excellent teacher. Advanced degree in teaching is very good. If you finish your PhD or master's and you think, okay, maybe you want to be able to be a better teacher, you can go for a new degree in, in teaching.
I think the network is acting up, but kindly bear with us. And we have about 10 more minutes to wrap up this. Mike, can you hear me? Oh, sorry, we lost him. But whilst he comes, let me use this opportunity to make this announcement. And then anytime he joins, he can continue from there. If you are a first-time postgraduate to WITS, please kindly note that right after this meeting at 1 o'clock, we will be meeting at the Professional Development Hub. I see Mike, you are here. If you are ready, then you can just take over. I'm just making some announcement. We're meeting there to continue with the program. There is a good program lineup for you, so that I'm trusting that we will be able to go through it quickly. So, Mike, in the next 10 minutes, you should just take us home. Can you hear me, Mike? I can see your screen, but I can't hear you. Maybe you are muted.
Yes. So can you hear me now? And can you see my screen? I got kicked out.
Yeah. So,
yeah. So yes. So can you all see my screen and can you hear me?
Yes, we can see and hear you, but we are running down on time, so you have about 8 minutes.
Okay, it's all right. I'm gonna do my best to finish. So those are some of the things you need to do to have excellence in service. And the question is, as students, can we achieve all this? Already I've given you insights that yes, it is possible. The last video we watched, I've also shown that yes, all these are possible. So let's get to it. What are the 5 things that I've seen most of the postgrad students do and get them good jobs in industry, and of course make them top scholars in the academia? The first thing is artwork. The second is mentorship. The third one is volunteering. The fourth one is collaboration, and the fifth one is time management. And you can see this time management keeps coming up over and over again. So to go to the first one, so I've had people talk about, you work smart, don't work hard. No, that's not true. You can only work smart if you're hardworking. So if you cannot, you need to be able to put in the effort. Otherwise, shortcut, like Desmond would say, would cut you short. So you want to be very, very hardworking. Like during my time, I was waiting for the equipment to be used for my PhD to get commissioned, installed and commissioned. During that time, I decided to write a review paper. During that time, as students, we believe it's only professor who writes review papers. And it turned out to be my best paper to date. And so it's a result. It as a result of hard work. I started more than 83 journal articles were read during that time. If you don't put in the hard work, you cannot get the result. And one thing this does is that it helps you create an identity for yourself so that you can compete for other opportunities that come in the future. So the next thing that I'll talk about is mentorship. It's very, very important that you mentor. You get many mentors as much as possible, and you also try and mentor others. And there are 3 kinds of mentors that you really want to look for. For example, I had peer mentors then. They really help you with your daily activities. I remember during that time when I was writing the review paper, I showed you the last time, it was a peer mentor called Desmond Clement that told me, now, all these images you're putting into this review paper, have you gotten the copyright agreement? I never knew something like that. I would have been, I would have probably plagiarized at the end of the day, but his advice was helpful. I've seen Prof. Genga present. I admire that, and he became my silent mentor without him knowing, and many of them that I cannot put here. So they help you with your daily activities, and teach you things you don't know, either formally or informally. Then you need to find grant mentors, people you look forward to becoming. For example, I wanted to improve how I communicate my science, and I started watching video of Dr. Neil deGrasse Tyson and Professor Kaku. These are excellent science communicators, and of course, Prof. Hawkins. And leadership styles, I thought about Mandela and all that. So you need to have grant mentors who help you change, probably they guide how you see yourself in the future. Then you need your effective mentors. This is very important. You need to know how to manage your supervisor, not your supervisor managing you. And please don't fight your supervisor, because even after you graduate, they still write to them to check if you need a job. They still get references and all that from them. So you must make sure that you manage your supervisor effectively, because how far you go in life depends on them. So please make sure you don't fight your supervisor. We have a course on supervisor-student relationship. Make sure you attend that course. The next thing I want to talk about, which is the third tip, it's volunteering and taking chances. So if your role is not academia, it's somewhere else, this is where you really need to focus on, because this helps you build your network. It also helps you to get new opportunities. I had a lot of volunteering that I did during my time, and I mean, that really helped even more than the degree itself. So you get to know people, you get to take new opportunities, and, especially those ones that are not in your comfort zone. I remember when I volunteered to compete in the science communication competition, it was not my comfort zone, but it's turned out to be the best step I've taken in my entire life. But let me warn you that when you volunteer and take chances, failure is very, very failure is something that could happen. But always remember Winston Churchill that says success is not final and failure is not fatal. That's this popular professor abroad that actually had a CV of failure. And you can see this guy is celebrated all over the world today, but he has failed so many times. But Einstein couldn't even get an academic job, despite the fact that it's still being celebrated today. So you might fail, don't see it as the end, rather use failure as your, more or less use failure to your advantage. For example, in 2017, when I was planning ahead for my post-PhD step, I had to apply for a postdoc and I didn't get it. They agreed that my proposal was fundable, but I couldn't get the funding. And they really told me the reason for that. So that's why feedback from your supervisor and everyone is very important. And the reason why I couldn't get funded was because I didn't state the title of the papers I envisaged to publish from the work. I didn't tell them the timeline and all those kind of things. And this same proposal, I revised it and submitted it for another grant. And that was what got me the grant for my postdoctoral fellowship. So failing does not mean that it's the end of the way. Don't get discouraged. Rather, take the feedback and use it to your advantage. So the fourth tip that I'm going to give you is how to collaborate. You need to collaborate with colleagues and experts in your field. If you can see in the top box, the top box outlined in blue, you would see that these are just the two papers that came from my PhD. I mean, before I submitted my PhD. And you see, I had even more papers from other topics while I was doing my PhD than the actual work from my PhD. What really, what is good here is that I collaborated with experts, people like Prof. Kevin Harding, who is also one of the professors in the faculty, and of course with my colleagues that were doing PhD together around that time. You can see the amount of citations that these attracted. And one thing that I want to draw attention to is this helped me and allowed me to gain knowledge about doing engineering in a sustainable way. And fast forward a few years later, in 2021, those papers that I published with my colleagues enabled me to apply for a grant when collaborating with a guy from Australia, and we eventually got it. And it was not even about physical metallurgy, which is my background. It was more about doing engineering in a sustainable way. And the grant was more, the project was more about waste valorization. So you need to be able to adapt yourself. You need to be able to collaborate with your colleagues. And you don't know how that would help you in your career in future. So, but I have one warning to give you. When you start leashing out good research outputs and all that, a lot of people who want to collaborate with you. Be flexible, be able to adapt, but do not lose your identity. Always ask yourself, how does my expertise contribute to the current research trends. Because if you go and do something that your identity cannot be really seen, you have to account for it when you are trying to register for professional membership and all that, and it will just be a wasted effort. So in everything you do, make sure that you don't lose your identity. And the last tip that I would like to give is time management, and we've talked about this. I stand to be corrected on this, but over the years, I've always thought that time is the only currency that we have. And there are two things you can do to it. It's either you spend time or you invest it. So, and I would say when you spend time, you can do it in a wise manner. I know when you talk about work-life balance, so when you're trying to do that, you're trying to balance how you invest time and how you spend it. So I would recommend that you invest more time than spending it. But even when you have to spend it, make sure that it's contributing towards your goal. There's one professor in the US, Patrick Winston, who says that the quality of your ideas is what take you far. And for you to really have good ideas, you need to increase your knowledge and, of course, practice on your skill. Talent contributes very little to the quality of your ideas. So try as much as possible to invest time in building quality ideas while you're doing your postgrad program. You may be talented, but trust me, most of the successful people today, it's not by talent, it's more or less by the amount of knowledge they have and how much they have sharpened their skills. So it's if you're going to be spending time, you can invest it indirectly. I can show you an example for me. In my own case, it's when I spend time because I like writing. I just try to write about different topics that comes to my mind. It could be about my research. It could be about Africa in general. These are some of the things that I do, and this has given me even more opportunity than the PhD itself. So I was spending time when I write this because I wasn't doing too much of thinking, but it was more or less an investment. This has given me opportunity to travel, to give talks on big platform, and provided other opportunities that I wouldn't be able to mention here because of time. So you must be able to see how you manage, time investment and, of course, time you spending time. So to summarize, I think it's possible to achieve academic excellence following the framework that has been designed in the academia to be excellent in scholarship, teaching, and academic service. So to cap everything that I've told you today, the first thing is you need to create identity through hard work and persistence. There is no other way. You can't work smart if you're not hardworking. The next thing is you need to mentor others and get a lot of mentors, peer mentors, grand mentors, and of course, your effective mentors. Remember, don't fight your supervisor. Otherwise, you're shooting yourself in the foot. Then the next thing is try and volunteer and take chances. And when failure comes, try and get the feedback and use it to your advantage. Collaboration is something that we cannot talk enough about. It's the way that people move ahead. As a continent, we're trying to collaborate to make sure that mega trends come to stay. So please collaborate with your colleagues and collaborate with experts. And the last thing, I encourage you to invest more of your time. And even if you have to spend time for work balance situation, try as much as possible to make sure that, while spending that time is a form of investment, because at the end of the day, it contributes positively towards your goal. On this note, I want to say thank you to everyone that has attended this talk and this program today. And thank you to the faculty for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Dr. Michael Bodorin, and I know I've rushed you, but folks, this is just a tip of the iceberg. Now I just want to take us home. Some of you don't know where the PDH is. The PDH is you just have to locate where the VIT rugby field is behind the VIT rugby field. And the second part of the program that we'll be doing it in person. So right after I finish with this program, I'm just moving down there. But I just want to share something with you, finally, in a minute, or less than a minute. Your dreams are valid. And I think that I just want to say to you that your dreams are valid. You must know that words have power, and words are power. Words could be your power. You can change a life, inspire a nation, or make this world a beautiful place. Isn't that we are all fighting for? Or isn't that all we are all in? Everybody in this call, is that not what we are actually looking for? Your mouth can speak venom, or it can mend a broken soul. Ladies and gentlemen, let that be our goal. And no matter what you do, come talk to us at the Faculty of Engineering, the Built Environment. We are going to redefine how engineering, education, architecture, planning, and urban planning, construction economics should be done. If your degree cannot solve the socio-economic challenges that we face as a continent, it's just a piece of paper. It's not worth the ink used in writing it. On this note, I want to thank you all, and for all our first time postgraduate to VIT, you are warmly welcome, and we're looking forward to seeing you. We're seeing you at the top where we'll have some good coffee. All the best. And Prof. Lizelle, I just want to quickly hand over to you to say your parting shots, and then we can go and deal with matters that arise from here. Thank you so much, Prof. Go for it, Prof.
Everyone, I just want to thank Desmond for putting this program together. Really appreciate your contribution and the ADU's contribution as well to making our postgraduate studies and students a success. So guys, remember, if you need help, we're here for you. Okay, have a lovely day, everybody, and all the best for your studies. As you can see, we're in load shedding at the moment in my building, so good luck. Cheers. For those that's attending this afternoon, I'll see you later. Bye.
Bye for now. Bye, everyone.